Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Lone Coat Mafia podcast. It is I, once again, the Reverend Godfather, the show's main host and frontman. And this week is a special episode. I know I kind of say that every stinking week, but please, this week is kind of extra special because it's our 3rd anniversary special. That's right, we've been doing this 3 years as of this upcoming Thursday. And Big Candy joins us through Skype. I'm not going to pull too many punches right here in the start because I want to get this episode going right about now. Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Lone Coat Mafia podcast, and probably stated in the intro, you'll be hearing me going, huh, what, a lot, is because mostly the volume coming through my headphones right now is very soft, even though I can see that Big Candy is coming in just fine, audibly, I say audio-wise, he's coming in fine, just that for some strange reason, I can't hear him right, and everything's set up just fine. Thank you, Microsoft Update. Thank you so fucking much. If you could sense the sarcasm, good for you. So, welcome, Big Candy. Welcome.
Welcome. Tidings I bring you from the land of U.F.O research.
Yeah, I was kind of reading about that. According to your own investigation, it was a tower, a cell tower or something like that.
Yeah, it's just, here it gets weirder. I don't know if you read the update I put up today, but
I think that's the one I read. It just said it was just a tower with an odd blinking light.
Well, there's more to it than that. So, I'd have to research. I tried researching a little bit, but I couldn't get anywhere with it. But basically, I'm coming out of town where I live, and where I was sitting at a light right above the tree line, you could see a white flashing light, and it was a really, really weird pattern, like 3 quick blinks, boop, 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 boop. And I was like, I've never seen that before. And I'm thinking it's like a police helicopter, because they watch the highway. Interstate 81 runs right by where that is. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a police helicopter. They're watching the highway from afar or something like that. I don't know. And then, as I get closer, it looks like it's intensifying. And I'm like, what in the world is this? I have no idea what this is. And I lose it in the trees because there's you go down. It's a very hilly area for anybody that's familiar with Winchester, Virginia. If you're not, well, then I'm telling you, it's a very hilly area. So you go down, and I'm in the trees, and you can't really see above the canopy. So about, 5 miles. That's how far you can see this thing out. About 5 miles, I pass the... it's where our wastewater goes. It's the wastewater treatment plant that's on the outside of town, out in the county. And you could kind of see it through the trees there, and it looked like it was up high over top of there. Well, I go maybe another mile from that, and it reappears in my rearview mirror. And I'm like, holy cow, what is this thing? It's super bright, it's blinking weird, and then it looks like it moves across the sky and then dips down into the trees and then comes back again. And I'm like, holy cow. Meanwhile, you got to realize I'm going about 55. I'm on my way to work. And I'm trying to do this and look at that, trying to watch the road, trying to watch this, and I'm this is 11 p.m. So I go on Facebook right before I go in. I'm like, if you saw anything weird on Route 7 around 11 o'clock, let me know, whatever. And I posted it on my personal page, and I posted on another page, and got about 30 replies. A lot of people just making alien jokes and Bigfoot jokes and whatever. And some people were asking if it was a drone. And I wasn't sure. I started thinking, well, maybe it was a drone. Somebody flying a drone up there. But it definitely was strange because I'd never seen that before in my life. And so the next night, I was like, all right, I'm determined I'm going to find out what this is. So I drive back down that way, maybe to get some clues, maybe find out. Maybe if it is a drone, the guy's down there flying it, at dusk. Well, I get to the same stoplight. I look over and I see the flashing light again. I'm like, okay, that's stationary. That means it's still in the same spot. So it has to be something stationary. It has to be something over there. So the further I drive, I get to, I go past where it is and then turn around and come back. Well, I look and it's like, oh, it's a cell tower, and it's up on a hill, and because of the curvature of the Earth, flat earthers, because of the curvature of the Earth and the hilly area, where the top of that hill is, when you're in town, it looks like it's right above the tree line. But I mean, this thing's like on a hill and then another 200 feet in the air. So like, it looks like it's right above the trees, but it wasn't. And this is 5 miles away from where I was. But coming back, you can see it plain as day. It's up on a hill. It's about 200 feet high. But it had a weird white blinking pattern to it. So I was like, oh, okay. And the reason it looked like it was moving was because as I went down past it and around the curves, like the slight curves in the road, it would move in my rearview mirror one way or the other. And then because of the in the center lane, or in the, I guess you call it the island, between the two sides of the of Route 7, there's actually hills. So it looked like it was dipping down below the trees. And like I said, it's pitch black out there at night, so you can't really see all that. So to me, it looked like something moving, but truthfully, it was just stationary. So after I figured out what it was at dusk the other day, I said, oh, I'm going to go back down there. I want to see this. So I went out that way, and I didn't see the flashing light, and I thought it was weird. So I drove all the way out there and turned around to see the tower, and the light at the top was now just a solid red. Not flashing, just a solid red. So I don't know what kind of indication the flashing white is. I don't know if it's a weather alert. I don't know if it's maybe like, hey, you got to change the bulb, or the tower's not working, or something, maybe like some kind of an alert. But it was flashing white for like 2 days. Now it's a solid red again. And you can't even see it from town. You can't see it that 5 miles out. But you could see it plain as day, like when it was flashing. It was a lot more intense. So, yeah, I had no idea what it was.
Now, Route 7 is like going past the post office by where your parents live?
Yeah, Route 7 goes towards Leesburg, which goes to Sterling, which goes to D.C.
Yeah, if I'm remembering Winchester correctly, it's like if I was going through downtown to roughly where your parents lived. I'm not really giving any locations of where they live, but there's that post office, and Big Candy knows what I'm talking about. It's that stoplight right before you get to the post office, and if you made that right and went all the way down past the I-81 intersection, you're gonna Martin's is going to be on your left. There's a Starbucks. I think that's Route 7, right?
Yeah, that's Route 7.
Okay.
Yep.
I still know my locations. Woohoo! But I will say this: I have something similar that happened to me a couple of months ago. I'm only bringing it up because it relates to your tale. Here in Martinsburg, we have a cement factory. They do bricks, stairs, all things cement. Besides the local residents that live near the son of a bitch complaining, they have dust that falls on their vehicles all the time from the plant. Really? You complain? First off, you live near the plant, and you're complaining about the dust. Go figure. But when a person like myself that walks everywhere, you know about this building, you know about the lights that are on it, and so forth and so on. And coming home from one of the local, or at least one of the major, it was like a Walgreens, CVS. One night I'm coming home from work, and I see not just the standard blinking lights from the cement factory, but what appears to be a new set. I'm like, that's new. I don't recognize those lights. And I thought the same thing you did. It's like, is it a UFO? It's blinking. It's stationary. What the fuck? But my investigation was, I have to come through here. I have to check this out during the day when I'm, instead of going to Walmart for my grocery, I'll come back up this way and check out that same route. And sure enough, it's a newer industrial building in that same direction. And obviously that they have to have the same safety lights for the airplane and so forth and so on. And it was just completely new. So it could be the PG. What I'm seeing is we have a P&G, Procter & Gamble factory in that direction. So, or at least that could be the new Procter & Gamble factory that's down that way, and that's what I saw. So it's just a new building I didn't recognize, and it's the newest building in the area, so could be it. So
I was trying to do some research into like what it was, or about towers and why would a light be blinking or whatever. And the only thing I can do is like they can adjust the intensity according to weather conditions. So I'm thinking it may have been something like that, or I do know that any structure over 200 feet tall is required by the FAA to have that light on it. So, I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it indicated, but, I've traveled Route 7, and now I travel it all the time because that's where I work, is in Berryville, which is on Route 7. But I've traveled that road for years, and I've never seen that light. I've never seen it do that. And that's the first time I've ever seen any light like that at all going that way. And so you gotta, that's why it wigged me out. And of course I get on there and I say something strange. I never said UFO. I never said Bigfoot in a spaceship. I never said anything like that. I said something strange. And of course everybody's like, you're on drugs. It's UFO. You think it's a UFO? I'm like, no, I don't think it's UFO. I just didn't know what it was,
Yeah, there's always that difference. Even though basically, the standard definition of UFO is something that is identified, flying, and a possible object. It doesn't mean aliens. It just means I saw something in the sky. I don't know what it is right now. It is, by all intensive purposes, a UFO. And
I didn't say purpose because the reason I didn't want to lead people on.
Right.
I didn't want to say.
It's just that aspect of that's where most people think. You say I saw a UFO, they think little green men in spaceships. Yet,
well, that's what I'm saying. I said something strange for a reason. I didn't say. I made sure not to say it that way. I said, did anyone see? I said, I just want confirmation that somebody saw the same thing I did. That was a check not only for me but for them too, so that I wasn't basically going, yeah, there was a UFO and it was blinking in the sky, because you'd have somebody going on there, yeah, and I saw it fly down and hit somebody's house and it abducted a cow. You don't want to lead people on with a weird story because they'll just compile it and then it becomes fake.
Right. And basically many years ago when what was it? Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind that came out. It was the Mila Jovovich mockumentary. It was Fourth Kind or whatever it was.
Yeah, the Fourth Kind.
And coming out of this thing, a couple of people were mentioning about, UFOs and this, that, and the other thing. I said, listen, and at that point, it was like a perfect example. A plane was flying over. This was at night. I said, see that plane up there? They looked up and they went, yeah. That's a plane. I know it's a plane. But since it's flying close to the ground, we can hear it. Therefore, we know it's a plane. If it's flying further up and we can't hear the engine, therefore we don't know what it is. So the basic classification of a UFO is a unidentified flying object. Until it can be identified as a plane, as a kite, as a drone, it is and can be classified just that our brains and with popular culture, we're going straight to little green men in flying saucers. And that's why a lot of skeptics like you and I have to check. We have to at least run it through some sort of process before we say, I saw something I don't know, and therefore I can't explain it, therefore, i.e. UFO.
And my best way, I wanted to test it, I guess semi-scientifically. I wanted to see if I could repeat the same experiment over and see if it proved the same results, and it did. Right. And that's how I figured out that it wasn't anything abnormal. It was just something I had never seen before. And so, that's how I would go about anything, because you know more than anybody that I would be absolutely fucking beside myself if I actually saw something, right? And I couldn't actually explain it, and I couldn't repeat it, and I couldn't prove it that it was anything else. I would say something, right? But this is something that could have been tested, it could have been repeated, it could have been analyzed. So if I get a chance to do so, I like to do so, rather than be one of those people that are just running around saying, oh, it was aliens. Like, I had a buddy Stuart when we were growing up, and every time a plane would, like you said, would fly overhead, he would automatically go there. Oh my God! It's alien. It's a UFO. It's like, Stuart, you can see that it has like warning lights and a friggin' propeller. Yeah, it's a UFO propeller.
Yeah, that's why a lot of folks, I want to kind of bring their YouTubers. At least the one I know of offhand, he is very logical in his thought, and if you bring him, okay, I'm getting this, it seems like a second 2 and 3 of a 5-second conversation. It's leading me to, if you went up to him and said, this is what it's leading me to believe, I want to be a skeptic to this, and I want to see something more, but this is what I'm being told. He'll be the first to go, okay, let's see if we could. What he tends to do is break down the flat Earth stuff and some of the moon landing stuff, and he does a little bit of research, and I'm like, no, this is second 2 and 3 of a 5-second conversation. Here's second 1. Here's second 4 and 5. This is why you're being misled. And the YouTuber is Greater Sapien, and he does a lot. He tries to be very educational and very scientific. He's he's self-taught. He didn't go to a college to be a scientist or a physicist. He went and was like, I need to explain this. I need to learn this in order to explain it to why people, or why it's wrong. So he became very self-taught in regards to the math and the science, and as to why that is the best way to do it. And he'd probably applaud you to going that far, saying, the best way to do it is to test it. And a lot of people would, even I would say, bravo for at least trying to explain it scientifically and being an open-minded skeptic, so to speak.
Well, and the other thing is, it kind of became like a social experiment, like on my part, just a little bit, because in a way, like, you could see the people who automatically wanted to jump into it's a UFO category, and you automatically saw the people who wanted to just downplay everything that you were saying and be like, oh, it's bullshit. And it was like, it was neither a UFO or bullshit. It just happened to be something that I wasn't familiar with. So it was interesting seeing that spectrum of people, like the ones who either thought I was crazy or the ones who were ready to board the mothership. It was really funny. And along with that, it was nice for me to have an exercise in actual investigation, as far as coming to a conclusion, and then being able to draw that conclusion publicly. It was fulfilling,
right?
Even though it wasn't what everyone expected me to say, and I think a lot of people expected me to be like, "Yeah, dude, it was a UFO. Oh my god." I have seen things that I can't explain, that I cannot test or prove otherwise. But luckily, this was one that I could. So it was kind of neat.
And I would go on record. I've seen stuff that I cannot explain. Some of it would be the classic. I won't say the classic UFO, but the folks out there, if you look up the Jupiter, Florida incidents, or the town, or say the city in Florida is actually called Jupiter, and if you look at those UFO photographs, I've seen something when I was living in Florida, something very similar to that. And when I was young, I seen something my parents really didn't doubt I saw something because I was looking out the window. I was maybe about 5, 6 at the time when I saw it. They encouraged me that I saw something I did not know, but they didn't fully say that, yeah, you saw a flying saucer. They acknowledged that I saw something I could not, in essence, a UFO, an identified flying saucer. But what I saw as a child was this large disc object slowly moving over the house. So, and granted, I was young and living in an urban environment. It could have been maybe it could have been something that was man-made. I just didn't know what it was, being 6 years old at the time, looking out of the window at midnight. Just didn't know, if you could understand that.
Yeah.
But in Florida, I've seen a lot of stuff that either was a natural phenomena I just couldn't explain, or something that, even that UFO incident I seen in Florida, it could have been something that was projected onto the clouds or the trees from someplace else, because for those who live in Florida, they can understand that the weather changes every 5 minutes. Oh, it's raining. Give it about 3 minutes. It'll clear up. But it could have been something projected on a cloud because it was at night, and it's hard to really tell if there's clouds in the sky during pitch black unless it's covering up stars. But
yeah,
at least at the moment, I've probably seen ball lightning and stuff that I cannot explain, that I can chalk up. Well, I saw a UFO. It looked like a flying saucer. Could it be explained? Possibly. I'm open up to, explanations of the possibility of it being something else, i.e. a projection, meeting someone pulling my chain, or so forth and so on. Who knows? But that's the whole aspect of things, and it's one of the things I don't want to move on, but we will be at the Eastern Panhandle Paracon in 2 weeks, so not only promoting the show, but getting interviews and video footage and photos while there. I don't know as how far we can go as to recording certain things, but this is not a Matt Burn. Yes, I'm using air quotes for a radio recording, but this is not a Matt Burns event, whereas I could easily plop my computer down, plop a mic down, and just start recording.
Well, we'll get confirmation before we do anything.
Right.
With
an event like this, we'll have to ask and get confirmation. It's with Matt; he'll just probably say, "I'm not putting words in Matt's mouth," but most of the time, it's okay. Just ask the people doing the panel, and that's what we do. Right. So,
yeah. Well, going back to, I don't mean to keep on about it, but going back to the sightings thing, have you seen anything as an adult, or have you? Okay,
I was 2 times. Again, when I was maybe closer to 20 at the time. This is starting back earlier on. I was taking my father to work. We only had one vehicle at the time, so we shared the vehicle. I took him to work, then used the vehicle for community college and taking my mom on to various doctors during the day if needed. And both of us saw since this was roughly 5, 6 in the morning, right roughly when dawn's happening, and both of us noticed a light in the distance close to the horizon, and it was a fair amount above the tree line. I'm talking, it could have been, from where we were at, it looked like it was several inches above the tree line, which could have meant half a mile to a mile above the tree line. Right. Actual distance between the two, but from our perspective, it looked like maybe about 3 or 4 inches above the tree line. And both of us, even you at that time, if you were there in the vehicle, would have thought it was either a plane, a chopper, something along those lines. It was some sort of aircraft. It was more than likely a plane. We pull into the parking lot. I park. Both of us get out of the vehicle. My father was in the driver's seat. I was in the passenger seat. By the time I closed the door, went around the front of the vehicle, went to the driver's side door, and looked at that same location of where that plane, what I thought was a plane was, it was gone. I mean, this was a span of 3 seconds. It shouldn't have moved maybe from where it was to maybe, again, from our perspective, 3 feet in the sky, and it was just plain gone. Not dimmer, gone. And I told my dad, it's like, where did the plane go? He was like, and that's when he gave the skyline a quick glance, because I know that meant he saw it before. He went, right. Yeah, where'd it go? He literally went, where'd it go? It should still be up there. Which means he probably saw it through the windshield or, at some point. Now, fast forward to earlier this century, I was taking, you remember Steve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was taking him home one night, and he lived, I think, exit 315.
Sorry.
And getting off that exit, I didn't really turn to him. I made the passing remark, I think the flyboy is a little low. And he was like, yeah, that guy is, because I was looking, actually lowering my head to look at the lights in the sky, and that's when he looked, and he's like, yeah, that plane is a little low. Then we get off the ramp, and we go down that same road, and we're like, both of us were like, where'd he go? And this was a span of like 5 seconds, not even. So
yeah.
But since then, because I tend to walk a lot, and especially at night.
That's why I asked, because you walk a lot at night. So I wonder if you see things.
I tend to look up. I've noticed a few things that move a little differently, but because of me walking, it's kind of hard to place whether or not they're planes or not. There are a few very bright stars in the sky that I cannot explain. They could be planets. They could be actual natural satellites, meaning communication satellites, or so forth and so on. I cannot tell. From my perspective, they are in the western sky. At least the bright one I've been noticing as of late is very bright. It could be, I'm going to say this, it could be a planet, and meaning the planet could be like Jupiter, it could be Saturn, something that's bright enough at certain times of the year that you could, it's very bright in the sky, but to get more detail, you need a very decent telescope, a commercially available telescope.
Well, you know what an valuable tool for somebody like us would be, and I used to have it. I don't have it anymore. But there was an app that they used to have for Apple that was called Skywatch, I believe. And you could literally, like, once it loaded up, you could point it at the sky, and in real time, it would show you like an overlay, almost like wherever you point your phone, it does an overlay of exactly what is above you. And like right down to even communication satellites, the International Space Station. Like if you'd pointed at the ground, it would show you what's in the sky above, where the other side of the Earth, which was pretty cool. Like you'd have to calibrate it every once in a while, but other than that, it was a really neat app. I'd like to get that back because it's kind of cool. And there was a feature. I don't know if they still have a feature on your iPhone. I don't know if Android has it, but iPhone, you used to say, "Who's flying overhead?" to Siri, and Siri would tell you if it was a flight, like a U.S. Airways flight or something like that. She would tell you like U.S. Airways flight 117, like right over your head. It would tell you exactly what you're looking at, so you're not mistaking things. It would tell you where it's going to. I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, I mean, at nighttime, at night it's really funny because your eyes are going to automatically go to anything in the sky, and especially anything that's moving and having light, and you're just going to be like, "What's that?" You're just more curious at night than you are during the day. In the daytime, you very very rarely look up, so like your eyes are drawn to things at night. And the one experience I had that I can't explain was not something that was like I don't know what that is. I knew exactly what it was, but I can't explain it, if this makes any sense. And it's the one that kind of like really did it for me, as far as like, okay, there's something going on. I think I've told you the story, right?
Which one?
The one about we were working at Target in the morning. And we came outside, and anyway, I'll go ahead and tell it. I mean, just
in case you didn't tell it before, and to kind of fill in our listeners.
Yeah. So, my wife and I, before we got married, we met at Target. We were working at Target at the time, and this was about 2000 and.
I want to say 7 or 8, 6, between 6, 7, and 8.
Oh no, this was definitely 2009 when this happened, because we were living at my parents. We were living at my parents' house right before we got married. Yeah. So, I was leaving in the morning. We used to work in the back room, and we'd have to leave early in the morning because, any store that has a back room, you get the product out on the floor before the customers come in the store. So we were there to do that and stock the shelves and get the stuff off the shelves and unload the truck and all that fun stuff. So she's inside either getting coffee or putting her shoes on or something. And I went out to start the car. And I noticed, because from my parents' backyard where the post office is, you can see, like sometimes when the light, there's a stoplight right there over top of where there's some row houses. You can see the light change in the sky, like from the light shining around the tops of the row houses. It'll be red or green, and I've noticed it before, especially on like cloudy days or foggy days. You can see the red and the green. And I didn't think anything of it at first, but then it caught my eye again. I looked, and over top of the row houses, really coming in real slow, was a white object. It wasn't flashing, it wasn't pulsing, it was just a white luminescent object. And I'm looking at it, and it looks like a plane, but it doesn't, and it's kind of a triangle. And I'm like, huh. And it's getting closer and closer and closer. And as it gets like right above the row of houses and right before it gets to me, and I mean it's going slow, not slow enough that like it's going as slow as like a car driving down the road, maybe going 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And right as soon as it gets kind of near me, it just in the blink of an eye, like almost to the point you didn't even notice it happened. It just turned into 5 birds flapping their arms in exact unison in a V pattern. And the birds were like luminescent, just like the object. Like it looked like somebody was shining a spotlight on them. Now, it's not uncommon for birds to fly at night. In fact, geese fly at night all the time. But they weren't making any noise. Like when geese fly overhead, you hear the ho ho ho. It was silent, and they were illuminated, like somebody was shining a light on them. And I just watched them fly right over top of the house we were living in, and off to the north, toward there's a bowling alley. That's what I always call it, north side, because north side is where the bowling alley is. But they fly off to the north side, and disappear over the houses on the next street over. And I was just dumbfounded. I've never seen anything like that before, and I've never seen anything like that since. Like, literally within the blink of an eye, a solid object turned into 5 illuminated birds flapping their wings in unison. And everybody's like, well, you were tired, or you're drinking too much caffeine, or you're on drugs. And it's like, nope, I don't do drugs. I don't smoke anything. And at the time I wasn't drinking because I was living at my parents' house. And besides that, I really didn't drink that much anyway. And granted it was the morning, but I'd been up for like a couple hours. I took my shower and eaten breakfast. So I wasn't like groggy or anything. I know what I saw.
Right.
And I can't explain it. To this day, I don't know what I was looking at. Like, I don't know what, like, why would a solid object want to appear as birds? Like, did it notice me noticing it? Whatever it was? Like, it would have had to have noticed me. Standing there in my backyard, the only light back there at 3 o'clock in the morning is like a porch light. So I don't know how it saw me, but if it did, like, it was like, uh-oh, better look like birds, and then flew over the house. And I was just, that's weird to me. Whatever it was, it didn't want to be seen as whatever it was. It definitely did not want me to catch it. Because, like I said before, I even thought about it. I was like, well, could a flock of geese look like a solid object? And I was like, yeah, I guess they could if you're looking at them like dead on. But like usually whenever you see them, they're not flapping their wings all in unison. Each one has individual motor skills and is flapping their wings to fly or sailing, how they do. But it's always... it's always a different way. It's always like one is flapping in a different way than the other. I mean, these were in perfect synchronized flaps. If I remember anything, I remember that. They were perfectly synchronized flaps. It was almost like somebody said, copy, drag. Like, here's an image of a bird instead of whatever you think you're looking at.
Right.
Copied 5 times.
Probably enough to, like, well, if it was something, I'm going to say I'm just speculating here. It was probably, let's switch to something that they might recognize. You're saying this is maybe about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, at least. Yeah. And if they are monitoring if this was a alien life form or an object controlled by an alien life form or species, that, well, it's almost morning their time. A lot of people that are getting in from this time are either tired, or these strange beings have a tendency to drink fermented fruit on a nightly basis. Let's try to disguise us, and when they wake up in the morning, they'll just chalk up what they see to something alcohol related. So,
yeah.
Not to mention they are about 20 minutes away from Martinsburg, so drugs can be involved.
It's like, there's no reason for him to be up at this time other than he's inebriated. Let's just look like birds, like, because they don't understand the pattern of, like, working early in the morning or working overnight, So, I don't know. I thought at the time I told my wife, and she was like, "What?" And I said, "You just missed it." Like, literally, she came out right after it happened, and I was like, "I don't know what I just saw." It's bugged me for years. Like, that's why I still talk about it. It shook me literally to the core. Like, the fact that, like, something, possibly, I don't know, not of this earth, noticed me noticing it, and it had to change its perception for me.
Right.
That's crazy. If that's true, that's crazy. Like, it didn't want to be seen. Which, I don't know if that makes sense or not. You know what I mean? Because you hear about people, like, always with the abductions, or you hear about people with the, well, I saw it and then I blacked out and I woke up, or it zoomed off or something, like, it's always like it has been seen, or it has, like, it did something to the people. Well, it didn't do anything to me. Like, I saw it go away, and then we went to work. And it was almost like, it's like, oh, pay no mind, just bird.
It's something, the active, if you want to call it active camo, it's something like Secure Team 6, I think he is. Secure Team would say, it's active camo or something like that. But
and it also leads me to believe that, like, it couldn't divert from its current position. It had to be wherever it was for whatever reason.
Right.
Like, in other words, like, if it just didn't want to be seen, how come it didn't just zoom away? Or how come it didn't just, like, stop and fly straight up or something, something that would sound outlandish enough that, like, oh yeah, you didn't see me. Or, if it knew that I was there, why didn't it just stop, and, do some, be birds somewhere else, and, like, make me think, oh, it's just birds I saw. No, it had to continue flying exactly where it did, overhead, like, literally, like, maybe 50 feet above the treetop over at my parents' house.
Right.
Like, I mean, this thing,
up to the ground to actually make out at least some sort of detail or something close to it.
Whatever it was about 200 feet over my head. So I literally could see every detail of it up until the point it disappeared. And I was just like, what? So that's the one that got me. That's the one that changed me. That's the one that made me believe. And that's the one that, like, it sticks with me to this day. Why did it not just go away? It's almost like it couldn't divert from whatever it was doing, and it wanted me to not believe what it was. Right. So it's strange all over.
Probably the conversation inside was, oh, dude's an American. They're stupid. Change to birds.
just be birds.
Just be birds.
Captain.
They're stupid.
Captain, what will it do? Just change to birds.
Just change to birds. As much as I would like to talk about UFOs all night long, but we must move on. We must continue the journey. And the thing is, we'll get back into something a little bit different type of geeky, but for all of you out there that have been following us, this week is our 3rd anniversary week. as of Thursday, the 11th, no, sorry, that's Wednesday, Thursday the 12th, we will be officially 3 years old. 3 years, the show would be 3 years old. How about them apples, Big Candy?
I like them apples.
Man, can you believe
crazy.
3 years?
And you got to think, like, at least, 2 of those years now, you've been putting out content solidly every week.
Yeah, about a year, and by the end of this month, a year and 4 months, constant without using a retro episode. So,
yeah.
As much as some of you out there like the retro episodes, I don't like to use them because I personally think, not that there is anything wrong with them, just that I think personally, in my mind, it's a cop-out, and I like to save them when everything else has failed in regards to that. So that's the major reason why I don't like using them. Well, I don't want to use X, I don't want to use Y, but I don't want to skip a week. So, a retro episode might rear its ugly head maybe sometime during the holidays, due to the fact it's usually the holidays. So, and I feel like, you know what, screw it, retro episode. But for the most part, I want to see how long we can continue with original content and constant coverage of stuff, even though the last few weeks, it's kind of stuff coming in is very quiet, and I don't want to do a lot of the social commentary stuff that's been coming out. So there's that. And one of the good, speaking of 3 years, I put it on our social media stuff, our Twitter, I think on our Facebook. I don't think I announced it on our Facebook page yet, but for those of you listening right now, might have seen our video that we put on YouTube and on our Facebook, so therefore I might have actually announced it on Facebook. We did get our press pass for Otakon this year, 2 years in a row. So part of me is like, yes, if they looked at the fact that last year I did the kind of the review and the context. It wasn't just a simple review episode of the show, or I should say of their convention, but it was a content. Most conventions don't like, if you're going to be a member of the press, doing just a simple review, and I had to do the whole context of everything in regards to their show because of our previous history with Otakon, and our previous thoughts on Otakon. So this year, with that and the follow-up to an event, something that happened at Otakon that Saturday or Sunday, was the next episode after that. I guess they looked at it, thought that we did a decent coverage, or at least I did good enough coverage that warranted a second press pass, for at least a press pass for this year. And me personally, I wasn't putting too high of a hopes to it, but
yeah,
if they said no, sorry, you're not approved this year, I would have been more than happy. My views from last year would not have changed, but I would have been completely satisfied. You know, it would have been like, okay, we didn't really, they weren't satisfied with the coverage from last year, so therefore I can understand it. I'm not going to be mad. But part of me was like,
I mean, hats off to them, because I mean, they're giving you a chance that like no other con is giving you at all. So
right.
I mean, that's, well, aside from Matt Burns,
right.
But,
I should,
that's
again,
really
not knocking Matt Burns at all and the 4-state shows. Just that Otakon was...
Well, he
genre altogether, and they're on a different level. So,
well, and Matt Burns is in the friend category.
Right.
You know, to be honest, so like, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's coverage is coverage. It doesn't matter. But like, yeah, the fact that Otacon is letting you do that again. So, do you have like is you have an agenda? Is there people that you want to meet? Is there people that you want to interview?
Yeah, this year I'm planning on. Last year I tried to do a little bit, get some video. I didn't really know my place, or because a convention like, or say the size of Otacon, there's a different learning curve or a different set of procedures that what Matt Burns might do. So I went into that not really knowing what to expect. Whereas I'm giving props to Randy from Geek World Order, that he's done the major shows before, so he immediately would know what to do, what rules are in play. As I know what rules are in play with a 4-state show, just not with a show the size of Otacon. So this year, yes, I have a better plan of attack in a good way. And a definite Otacon, folks at Otacon, if you're listening, good way. This year I plan to do some video, kind of do what I normally would do at a Matt Burns event, just try to scale it up a little bit, because I want to at least do a walk through the convention center, kind of like a walking tour a little bit. And it'll be split up into 2 parts, like a walking tour of everything up until the dealer floor, if I have access to it at that point. I know last year they did a preview tour of the dealer and industry floor. So that will be a different video for everybody out there. And I'll be doing, since they have a game floor, meaning last year they had one of the other convention floors rented out, where it was just set up for those folks who wanted to play Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. They had PCs set up for PC gaming. They had several consoles up, and they had arcade games from Japan, the weird ones from Japan. So
that's awesome.
When I first went to Otacon in Baltimore, the crowd everything was kind of very hard to get into. Last year, it was very easy to get into a lot of the floor, like the dealer and industry floor. Not because I was pressed, just because they were in a newer location, and especially the gaming aspect of Otacon in regards to Japan, and that is going to be probably a third video, because I want to keep it separate from everything else. So there's 3 videos I'll be sharing with all of you. Possibly a 4th, that would be a music video.
Was that a mafia joke?
What do you mean?
He said possibly.
Could be. We are a mafia themed podcast.
There's endless possibilities.
It's been a long time since we did one of those types of jokes around here.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just caught you said possibly. I was like, oh, possibly.
If I did say possibly, I'll own up to it. But I also have 2 interviews I have to put in for.
Okay.
One is they're going to have a YouTuber that goes by the name of Mr. Creepypasta. He does a lot of the Creepypasta readings on YouTube. So I think it'll be an interesting video, or at least an interesting interview, and something at least somebody I could talk to about something and have decent questions.
Yeah.
And the other person is Johnny Young Bosch. I hope I'm pronouncing his middle and last name correctly. For those of you out there, Johnny was I think the second Black Power Ranger, and in essence, he was the Black Power Ranger in the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger movie, and he also voices Vash the Stampede in Trigon, the anime Trigon.
Oh.
And he also, believe it or not, voiced Kanishua. No, wait. Oh, shit. I forgot his name. He voiced a character in the original Akira. So,
which one?
The English dub of that. So, this could be... Plus, he's done a lot of other stuff, other anime and video game voice work. So, since I'm, in essence, Matt Burns' Power Ranger guy...
Yeah. No shit.
Fuck it, go with the Power Ranger.
You should have been working on an autograph collection by now.
Right, if I had the funds, right?
Well, I'm just saying you should...
So either way, he's going to be the second interview I put in for. Even if both interviews are about 15, 20 minutes, that's still something for the all of you out there. That's 2 episodes for all of you out there. And I'll be working on a 3rd episode as well for that. So between the Paracon, this con, the Punk Rock Flea Market in September, and Matt Burns' October show, we will have a shit ton of stuff for all of you out there. So the next 4 months are going to be relatively easy months. If there's nothing really newsworthy, we could wing a hostful. We'll pull a hostful out of our asses somehow, or at least I will. Plus interviews or anything else that I can gather up. I'll knock on Earl's door and bug the hell out of him. Earl, I need another interview. Earl! Dying here. But it's something that, with a lot of the interviews that we'll get, and hopefully, depending on how much we could record at Paracon and the Matt Burns events, we'll probably have a lot of stuff for everyone out there, especially through video, Otacon, and I'm going to have to keep my hair short just to prevent me from pulling the son of a bitch out. So, and like I was about to say, there might be a potential music video. Again, audio podcast, and I'm using air quotes. A potential music video coming from Otacon. Let me just say thank you, Dobbs.
Oh my. Yeah.
So this, it's going to be a combination. I already have a visual preview of what it's going to look like, but I'll save it as a surprise. There might be actually 4 videos stemming from Otacon coming to light. So I might get some hate.
I like to go to Otacon for one reason and one reason only,
which is
I would like to paint my cheeks rosy red and get like some kind of like a fake prosthetic that looks like maybe like plastic or something that looks like blood shooting out my nose, and then just pose beside cute like Sailor Moon cosplayers and be like,
just do it to random anime people. They'll get the joke.
Maybe like a headband with like, the little springs on it, like, and then have like the little sweat beads shooting off. Be like, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All the pictures of me just...
But, who would have thought 3 years? And that would lead me to the next question. Even though we kind of had this conversation like a week or 2 ago. Maybe about 2 weeks ago or so. How do you think, at least from... I'm saying this because I know you're not a yes man when it comes to a lot of the shit that I do and everything else, because this is legitimately not easy. How do you think I am doing? Be honest.
Like, if I'm being completely honest, and like, I want you to don't gloss this over. Like, I'm just saying this because I'm on the show and I'm like your buddy, but you're doing a damn fucking great job. The only thing I would say is I wish you had a bigger audience. I know you do too.
Yeah.
But the one thing that kills me that you do very well is that you stay engaged. Like, you always have content. You always provide a different show. Like, it's never the same fucking show. It's a different show, a different feel, and like, but it's a good thing. Like, you're always keeping people on their toes. Like, from your interviews with people to even when I, Skype in. We just shoot the shit for a couple hours, but then it's what you do in between there. It's the show promotion on Facebook. It's the live video that you'll show. Hey, I'm here. I'm doing something different. You're always posting stuff up to the page that's really funny or interesting. You're always posting up links for stuff. You keep on top of everything. And it's that what separates you from a lot of people, because a lot of people don't doing all the extra work. You do as much work, if not more, than your average YouTuber that has like 200,000, 300,000 K. Like, you're engaging on that level, but I don't know why you don't have like a bigger audience. You should. You should have a much larger audience than you do. I just don't know why the reach isn't there.
That's always the hard part. That's the part of the equation that somehow I'm not grasping, and I want to thank, without aspects of, you keeping me in check a little bit. Lloyd, I think me and Lloyd had this conversation before, is that when the folks like us, meaning at our level, we don't surround ourselves with people to stroke our ego that someone like a George Lucas or or a Donald Trump would have, where everything is do it, go ahead, just keep talking, use Jar Jar Binks, that's a good idea.
You mean Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks?
Right. But the thing is with you and Lloyd, it's, if I come up to you guys with an idea, I'm thinking, especially with you in the show, it's like, I'm thinking about doing this. And if it's a really dumb idea, and either you or Lloyd will go, that's fucking stupid. Why the fuck would you do something like that? But if it's a decent idea, you're like, all right, that is a decent work. It's not going to work the way you think it is. Try tweaking it like this. And there's been times I just plain did shit without consulting anybody. And like the whole Paracon thing, and just me sending out an email, can I cover it? I'm willing to pay. And all of a sudden I have a table and everything else. I'm like, how the fuck did I do that shit? And
that's fantastic.
And that's just, just learning a little bit from you, learning a little bit from Lloyd, and sharing, different ideas. And I want to put some credit towards, like, even though they came a little bit later, like Podcast Discovery Center and folks in those Facebook groups that, sharing the ideas and just having someone outside the box, giving ideas, and that way it's outside the circle, if you can understand that. Yeah, and sharing ideas with them. It's like, oddly, when I shared that bedsheet idea with you, I was like, use a fitted bedsheet on a 6-foot fold-out table. I'm like, motherfucker. And I had to share with you. I was like, why didn't you tell me this shit?
Yeah, no shit. I didn't. That's fantastic. I didn't even think of it. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, that works.
And I got that off of somebody. It's like, somebody else on Facebook, and was like, here's a life hack you didn't know. I'm like, motherfucker, what? And I yelled at you. It's like, why didn't you tell me this shit? And you were like,
well, I didn't know. That never dawned on me. So yeah,
it's like, I got to search either Goodwill or Family Dollar for like something that's $2 or $3,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, start bringing that to conventions, to set up instead of spending $3 every couple of months. Just have something. Okay, I'll just toss this in the laundry, bring this to the laundromat, and just wash it with everything else. So
yeah.
Probably
But
get
no,
something like Star Wars something on it.
But like, as far as it goes, like with what you're doing and everything, like I said, if you were doing a piss poor job, or like you weren't living up to the expectations I thought you should be doing, trust me, I'd tell you. But like, you're exceeding that. Like you're going. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I'm not just like here to inflate your ego. Like, you're doing a great job. Like, as podcasts go, like, I don't see people putting in half the work that you do. Like, some people just have a podcast and like they don't really think much of it. They just broadcast. I got buddies that do the same thing, that like they just do it every week. And honestly, I know that they have like kind of an audience, but like more or less, like it's just really them just hearing each other talk. I mean, honestly, like they don't have quite the audience that you do, but they're also not putting in any of the work. They're just kind of doing it and throwing it out. I got to get a drink here soon. They're just doing it and throwing it out there into the world, and expecting it to, like, you know, catch on. And that's where it's like you're working really hard, but you're not getting results, and it really, really bothers me. I don't understand why. Like, you should have, and I'm not bullshitting, like right now you should have between 50 and 75K every week.
And that's the odd surprising thing is, like, our Podbean followers as of tonight is about 1,085, give or take one or two. And we're getting between 20 to 40 a week. And it should be a hell of a lot bigger than that. Literally.
It should be.
And
for being 3 years, yeah. And like I said, I don't think it's anything that you're doing or not doing, because all you're doing is providing great content and keeping the fans engaged. What I think it might be is just there's something staggering your reach, and I don't know what it is. Because, like, okay, you know that I watch gaming videos sometimes.
Right.
So I was watching the other night. Who was it? It was One Shot Girl. And because I either watch that or, like, there's very few that I watch, but I intently watch the ones that I do. And she was playing, of course, Fortnite, and she had some. I think she was just doing rando duels, like where she just got on with like whoever happened to pop on. Well, the guy that happened to pop on with her had his own channel. But he wasn't super popular. I think he had, like, at the time when she jumped on with him, he had 800 subscribers, right? By the time she was done, he was, like, over, I think, 2K. Like, everybody from her channel hopped on there and was like, okay, I'll join his channel. And literally he had, like, 2,000 subscribers after they were done playing that jumped over from her show, or from her, streaming, from her stream to his, just because, like, she gave him the exposure and he was pretty cool. So it's almost like you would need to do something like that. Like, almost get, like, not use people to get exposure, but, like, spread yourself out there, like, with other podcasts, which I know you do. But, like, get yourself on other podcasts, or get other podcasters on your show and do collaborations, and, like, get people like, to come over from other things to broaden your reach just a little bit, because you're not going to get anywhere if you keep broadcasting to the same people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You have to somehow get yourself in with a new group somehow. I don't know how that happens, but
I know tomorrow, by the time this is posted, it would have already happened, but I know you hate when I do this. But tomorrow, I think tomorrow evening, so I'm going to have to get up early. I'm not going to like it, but I'm going to have to get up early so I can do my laundry and be home time for that particular appointment, but I haven't heard back yet. I'm going to be on Jay Leal's podcast, one of his podcasts tomorrow. So, and normally it's it may be something along the lines of what Sasha does, meaning that what he does is he broadcasts live on YouTube. So it's something similar to that.
Well, see, that's the other thing I was thinking too, like just thinking out loud. Like, everybody's kind of going behind the curtain with us today, but that's okay. I was thinking
it's our third-year anniversary special, folks. So that's what we want to bring you behind the curtain and kind of tell you how we feel and what's going on, because as you see with a lot of YouTubers that do urban exploring, they want to bring you along. We want you to bring you along with what we do and bring you along the process of what we go through. So
yeah. Well, that's another thing, like showing the process. See, that's something that I learned from somebody else, like as far as like if you're a maker or you're an artist, people like seeing your finished product, but they also like seeing the process. And that's something you might want to consider doing too. Showing people like what you do, what your equipment is, the bag that you carry to shows, like, just your daily life kind of stuff. Not too much personal stuff, but like if it relates to the show kind of thing. Because I noticed that some things that are more successful, they have that where, you can kind of get a behind the curtain look at the show, and also get the show too. And I also noticed that a lot of things are doing a lot more with video now. So like a big YouTube presence or a big Instagram or Snapchat presence might be what you need too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's what I'm looking into do with more YouTube stuff and Facebook stuff. And folks out there, please, the link to our YouTube channel will be in the show description. The best way to find that, I know when I post it everywhere, it gives the link directly to the show. Please scroll down a little bit if you're listening directly on site, which is thelongcoatmafia.podbean.com. The link is in the show notes below. Some of our videos I tend to put up on either our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, depending on what they are. So I might have a Facebook exclusive video, or I might have a YouTube exclusive video. Depends on the size of the video, and it depends on what the content of the video is. I might put a longer form video on YouTube versus Facebook, because Facebook favors a shorter video, where your YouTube favors longer videos. So even though there are some videos I put up on both, I think when I did the Cadspeed video, I put it on both because there was no copyrighted music playing that I could be dinged, so that's why I did that. But when I did, which we'll get into in a moment, is when I did the film theory, it was close to 40 minutes, if not closer to 50 minutes. I was like, this is too big for people to really watch, even though people tend to watch a lot of long form videos on YouTube, on Facebook, but it's more of a YouTube thing. So I was like, all right, make it a YouTube exclusive. I'll put it up there. And
by the way, bravo on your film theory thing. More like that. You should do more stuff like that. Film theory, film review, stuff like that. I know you get pigeonholed when you do stuff like that, but at the same time, it's really good content.
I might,
especially if it's something like that, something that like is totally yours. You own that. You know what I mean? Like,
and the thing
that's
is,
not.
Here's the conundrum. It's when folks out there, I'm going to let you all in on, like with comics and sports cards, where you have a good majority of the group saying, don't get that comic or that sports card signed because it decreases the value. There's always that other side of the coin saying, go ahead, it actually increases the value. So you have both sides, and when it comes to podcasting, you have people that will tell you, if you so choose to do it yourself, you'll have people, keep it within 15-20 minutes. And you'll have people saying, no, keep it between 30 minutes and an hour. Other people say keep it between an hour and 2 hours. Other people saying, you know what, more than 3 hours is fine. But the thing is, I've known podcasters, or I should say, there have been podcasts I've listened to that they've polled their listeners, and they've come to find out, and they've done that poll. It's like, should we shorten it to under 3 hours, under an hour? And it was evenly split amongst the listeners. Yeah. So that's one thing. And
I tell you why too, because a lot of people like the long format podcasts like Joe Rogan, because you can keep coming back to it.
Right.
Like, you can come to it like all week if you really want to. Plus, if it's something like a long commute, or if you're, if you can listen to your iPhone at work, it's nice to have something on in the background while you're doing stuff. And, especially like something like that, that's like, it'll pretty much take you away. Like, you're like, you'll get so involved in it, like, you don't really have to think about what you're doing because you're thinking about that. Short form has its great points too, but like short form is more along the lines of like quick information, like shooting out just facts and stuff real fast, not long form opinions, like, not like sitting down and analyzing a situation or a theme or something like that. Short form is really like, it's almost like okay,
or something like that.
That's why I have. Yeah, or like if you have a bunch of news or something that you want to do, like short form is great for that.
Right. Or like I said, I've been realizing, normally I'm at least a half an hour type of person. What I'm realizing is, okay, if it's 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. If it's a 15-minute interview and that's all I got, fine. With the intro and the outro that I do and the theme music, it's going to be about 20 minutes anyway, fine. And what I was going to say is that even though the fans like all variant times, the podcasters, the creators like me and even you, they argue over the fact of what size. And one of the top brass for Libsyn, which is a host, back when we were doing the Electric Eye, folks, we were part of the Libsyn family. But one of their top exec said, if you have 15 minutes, do 15 minutes. If you have an hour, do an hour. If you have 2 hours plus, do 2 hours. And that's a beautiful thing to say. It's like, don't worry about the time. Time doesn't matter. You're going to get an audience. So,
yeah.
And whereas there has been various YouTubers, there's one I can name offhand who came out and said that he doesn't really like to repeat a lot of news that has come out. It's because he tends to look at it, invent it, and there's a lot of news. As soon as he talks about it, there's 15, 20, 30 people already talking about it. So he tends not to try to talk about it, but that's one side. Like, someone's... I'm not saying like, he's not really saying don't talk about it, but he says he doesn't like to talk about it. It's kind of like saying, don't really talk about it because it's already been covered. But there are people out there saying... What was that?
I understand that. I was going to say, I understand that, why he's saying that, but at the same time, here's the thing. Like, there's certain topics that, like, yeah, I've heard it be discussed before, but I want to hear it from a certain person. I want to hear their take on it. Like, if you know that the person you listen to...
The reason why he was saying is that the same people that subscribe to his channel might also subscribe to the other people's channel. But what I heard is what you've been saying, that even though 15 people, there have been top people who have come out saying, yeah, even though 15, 20 people have talked about such and such thing, that shouldn't stop you from talking about it too, because your opinion on it or your coverage on it might be different than everybody else's coverage, or you'll have a different perspective on what's happening. That shouldn't stop you from covering it. That's why you should cover it. So don't be, like that person was saying, don't be afraid of covering it because they don't know what you have to say about it.
Yeah. Well, nobody likes an echo chamber either.
Right.
So, like, you know, it's good, especially if you have a different opinion on something to speak out. Like, especially if it's topical. Like, you know, there was I guess the Alamo here in town showed a documentary called Eating Animals tonight. And I noticed a lot of people, including the guy who hosted, got on there and was like, well, I'm going to be vegan after I watch this. And it's like, well, you know, if it took a film to make up your mind about your eating habits, like you didn't have very strong, you know, arguments in the first place. Like, and second of all, so everybody on there was just echoing, yeah, meat's bad, blah 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 blah. So of course I got to be the one that gets on there and puts like, well, you do know that like even vegetable farming kills animals, and they're like, then I get a backlash, you know. Right. But at least I'm making myself a different voice. And I'm getting noticed that way, and that's what's good. Like, even like the old saying goes, any press is good press, even bad press. You know, like you're still getting the attention, even if it's negative. So like, it's always good to have a voice, even if it's not a popular one.
Right. That's why a lot of times when I'm on Twitter and I might say something like, to myself, I'm like, watch, this is going to cause a fucking backlash, and nothing happens. I'm like, wait, what? Fuck, no one's shit. I should be like, why isn't anybody calling me out on my bullshit? You know, it's.
Don't you hate that when you try to cause trouble and then nothing happens? I hate that shit. Like, a friend of mine posted up a picture the other day, and she's posed with a shirt that says the Smiths, and you know the Smiths were a band, right?
No.
Maybe you heard? Okay. There was a band back in the 80s that was called the Smiths. So the shirt was actually a joke shirt, and it had Will Smith and his family on it instead of the band. Right? And, yeah, as funny as it is, the comment I made was, that joke isn't funny anymore because that's one of the actual Smiths, the band's songs. And I put, that joke isn't funny anymore. I was expecting, because this person, I expect this person doesn't know that that's a song of theirs. I was expecting her to come back and fight with me about it, but she didn't say anything. So I'm like, damn it.
That's the thing. It's a lot of it. You have to pick and choose your battles sometimes, because there's a few people I have on my friends list, and it's not who you think. It's different people. So, right. And it's no matter what you tell them. A lot of what they've posted on my wall, I want to say they're more aligned that they don't want to hear it. And again, this is not the person you're thinking of.
Oh, I know. Say no more.
They just post up stuff that meaning they'll put up stuff like the Earth is flat and all bunch of dumb shit, and you could provide. I'm just using flat Earth as an example, and. Actually, she did. It's a post I completely missed for somehow. And it's something that I would normally take the bait on, and something I missed. And when I looked into the comments, it was like 100 comments underneath. And it was one of the other comments was from another person on my friends list about how the moon landing was completely faked, and NASA came out and said it. I'm like, what the fuck are these idiots? And I'm like, you know what? Since this one person doesn't post a lot of, troll-ass bullshit to start off internet flame wars, or at least Facebook flame wars, I'll leave him up for right now. But this bitch, again, stating for the fact that it's not who everybody might think it might be, is getting unfollowed and unfriended. So it was like, because of that, and like, listen, I can't take it. I'll let other people, even though I tend to be more middle of the road sometimes, and it's just that I tend to know where most facts lie, right? Meaning it's like you're responding to a 2-second conversation, a 5-second conversation in which you only received 2 seconds of, and that's what you're reacting to. But the people, these people don't want to hear about that. Like, well, the Earth is still flat no matter what. You know what? Guess what? Later, I'm sick and tired of your shit. So,
yeah.
So, next up, we did, at least I put up a 40 to 50 minute film theory, and I want to talk a little bit about that for a moment.
Awesome.
And Big Candy, could you do me a favor and just start talking for a minute, because I think the cord went out a little bit, so I might have to do a.
Oh, you want me to start talking now? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go
so,
ahead.
About what?
I'll
talk about your film theory. I'll talk about your film theory. So, I watched it. I liked it. I thought it was a very interesting take on Johnny Johnson's movies, and the fact that I think you really pleased him by doing that. I think that he was a bit taken aback by the fact that you actually took the time to do that with his movies, and I think it was a pretty cool move on your part to do that, being such a fan. And it actually, not only is it a good fan theory, it's a good theory in general as far as like those movies go. And you did your research. That was another thing that was super impressive. So I really thought that was pretty cool.
And the thing is, to go into it a little bit, not the theory, because it's about 40 or 50 minutes long. The fact that I had the idea of the theory weeks ago, and I think I talked to you about it a little bit after one of the shows we did, and that following Friday, I think it was like a week or two later, John Johnson was at a writer's retreat at south of the border, the tourist trap that it is. He just wanted a place that he could just sit down and write that wasn't where he was at. And he was doing, all right, I need a break from writing the script. I want to do a drink with it's going to be a live broadcast. It's going to be 2 drinks. A drink with everybody on Facebook. It's going to be a live stream from 10 to 11. And from 11 to 12, the second drink is going to be over on Instagram Live. Now, these 2 drinks turned to 4 drinks. The final 2 drinks were on Facebook. And during the Instagram live stream, though, he asked, do you guys have any questions out there? I said, that's when I piped up. And I went, what are your thoughts about someone doing a fan theory about about 2 of your movies? And he was like, which 2? And I said, Plan 9, how Plan 9 and the Skeleton Key movies kind of are intertwined. And he was like, that's interesting. And a lot of what he was bringing up kind of matched what I initially had in mind, meaning the timelines kind of fit, where Skeleton Key kind of comes in right after Plan 9, and I was like, okay. And when I sat down to finally record it, I was like, okay, I can't record this until I'm done with the book, because unless I'm done, I could be missing something. And I have to explain to everybody a little bit about the remake of the Plan 9 remake. I had to kind of weave everything together and kind of be intelligent about it. And the fun thing is, the response back that we got from Johnny Johnson was great. For those of you who missed it, he brought up the aspect of his initial post was so great about it, and His response was, "This scholar and badass from the D Kingdom has built a fan theory connecting a lot of my films. His theory connects Plan 9, Skeleton Key 1 through 4, Dr. Elemental, and others, putting them in the same universe. He uses Matthew Warner's novel of Plan 9 to connect some dots. What do you think of his theory? It's pretty solid in my eyes. A hell of a deep dive with very deep cuts. I'd say it really works. There may be a couple of films coming that will rock the theory a bit, but until then, it holds strong." I'm going to say, I'm not going to finish it up. I will. It says, "And to be honest, this just gave me some ideas. Thank you again, sir, for your studies and your work." And he also adds to the bottom of it, he said, "I think you're pretty," in regards to us, the theory, he says, "I think you're pretty close on years in between Skeleton Keys too." Now, this is coming from the person who made these movies and wrote these movies. So, that, right, to me, that's a high honor.
Yeah, sure. Especially something that we've been enjoying and loving for, like, how many years now?
Oh, since 2007.
Exactly, so...
And one of the things that he said, and I replied, like, "Glad you liked the theory." And his reply to me was, "Very much, amigo, topped my day." And I think he might have had a bad day or it wasn't going too well, and it's something that, kind of like, did. Or he wasn't really expecting that much from the theory. So.
Yeah, I think it surprised him a lot. That's cool.
And
you got to get him on the show, man.
Yeah, I got to. And one of the people, I guess, that worked on an early draft of Plan 9, I don't know if you were following the conversation on, and said, unless, I don't think they watched it yet, but they stated, unless some things seriously changed from the early draft of the Plan 9 novel that I beta read for you guys, there is definitely a tie-in to Elemental, and would take on some serious suspension of disbelief to not link Officer Kelton to Spooky Tales and House on the Hill, not to mention that you said so yourself in interviews. Stephen King has everything happen in Derry, Maine, and you have everything happen in Neilbog, Virginia.
Yeah.
So, it's... to get that level of, it works, is kind of like, I was just, part of it seemed like I was trying to pull shit out of my ass, and to have John Johnson say, yeah, that you're solid, it works, we're going to use it, and it's just like, well, I could have been talking up my ass. I'm surprised you don't believe that shit, but, it's fun to see, it's fun to, hear. Just folks,
check out our YouTube channel for it. You know what I'd like to see from him? I was going to say, what I'd like to see from him would be a series, because I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know he's getting that Amazon channel, and I know he loves to work on stuff. I think it would be great to see a show called Welcome to Nilbog, or Welcome to Nilbog Population 0, or something something weird, to where it's just how weird the whole Nilbog area is, different stuff you get, the characters that you have living there on this fantasy place.
Right.
Which is kind of what happens in Skeleton Key, but at the same time, just all the different characters, almost from the movies and from his universe and stuff, just some kind of half-hour series, Welcome to Nilbog.
And it's just one of those things. Granted, I don't know if I don't remember seeing the video, but granted, I knew, and I think I said, granted, I know that the Skeleton Key series is mostly a humorous series of movies, and I acknowledge that, I understand that, but that was kind of the fun way of trying to tie things in, and a little bit of Elemental. It's listen, I know this is this, I know this is this, but this is how I think these pieces of this puzzle kind of fit together, and it was something fun to do. And I don't know how folks like the Theorizer on YouTube and Matt Pat, boil everything down to 15 fucking minutes. because or 15, 20 minutes. It's like, wait a minute, what if nobody really knows the movie you're talking about? You even though everybody knows about the Hunger Games, knows about Jurassic Park. That's why I think mine was that long. It's like no one really knows about the Plan 9 remake outside of maybe a few thousand people, or maybe it's not that many people might know about it. So I have to explain this. Not many people know about John Johnson's Skeleton Key movies. So I have to explain that shit. So it's not that easy. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I have this theory. I'm going to do it in 15 minutes. So it was, I think I worked on it like 5 or 6 times, trying to record it, and I had stuff written down. The one person I couldn't really, I don't think I mentioned it in the video, but the one person I couldn't place in everything that I wanted to place someplace was Dr. Sniffles / Dr. Kubert, which is, you folks out there who've watched the movie or don't really know, Dr. Kubert / Dr. Sniffles is this character that helps the character Howard be cured of his evil. And what this character tends to do, he comes off, he might greet Howard very kind, very sweet. Hi, how you doing? Get out of my fucking face! And it's that switch off, that's it. The way the actor portrays that character is, the timing is on point, because it's always, I like that you're here and it's good to see you, now leave, like, whoa, and it's that instant flip, and the jokes between them, it is perfect. And I think there's a way to place them, but I wasn't sure exactly where. I didn't know where.
What was your theory on that, on where to place them?
Well, I think part of me wants to say that in the book it talks about, in the movie you see the in essence Cap, which is one of the military folk, kind of rip off his shirt and go after the aliens. In the book it's explained that in a previous mission and contact with the same alien species, he was brought into the ship, and when he was released, he wasn't the same way. Meaning he was a valid, straight thinking person and an officer, but when he was released due to the torture, he literally was insane.
There you go.
And my aspect of Dr. Kubert is that maybe because he knows how to cure evil, and Dr. Nochez created a lot of the monsters and everything else that was currently in town, Dr. Kubert was his friend that, in essence, got quote-unquote hit by the meteor. Because in the book it says, it describes that when they were investigating a meteor, that in essence, the aliens could shift between, in essence, go through walls. And that their ship, in essence, they could go through the walls of the ship, grab somebody and pull that person in, and in essence, phase shift that person in the ship. So my thought is maybe when the meteor hit, they brought in Dr. Kubert, and when he was released, instead of snapping like violently, he had the knowledge, because he was that smart, knew about the aliens, knew about how, gained knowledge instead of anything else, and his split, or his insanity, was that personality split, meaning one was that angry, person, and the other side was his true self, and in essence, that nice, that kind of kind person, like, hi, how you doing? It's good to see you. You want some, we got some milk and cookies. And
I got a question. Question. What was it that he was doing when Howard met him in part 1? When he first went in that, remember he was in that building What was he doing?
He was just typing away on a computer.
Yeah. But didn't he say what he was doing or something? And then, like, I can't remember. I can't remember.
Wow, I don't know where my copy is.
I'm thinking you could probably tie that in somehow, because, like, maybe that was something he was trying to do. I don't know. I'd have to hear him say it again.
There has to be. Yeah. There's a link with him in it. There's a way of putting him a part of this puzzle, but I'm not exactly sure where he fits. Yeah. He fits in somewhere. So but the way they openly in Plan 9 kind of made the character Danny kind of fade out unknowingly, that he survived, but we don't know what happened. That's why I wanted to finish the book, because they kind of tell what happens to the pilot and his wife, that they kind of parked somewhere, wrote it out, had great sex. While waiting it out, they had sex back of the U-Haul. So, and once everything cleared out, they drove off into the sunset. But with Danny, there's that. Like I said in the video, there's no aftermath, and that's why I said, well, in part 2, we kind of using the aspect of using the same actor. How it could fit in, and I had to kind of twist this theory, like, well, maybe Howard kind of looks similar to Officer Kelp, the deputy. Therefore, in essence, Danny wants the officer, like, knock it off, or I'll put you in jail. He's kind of waiting on that. And in Plan 9, in the book, you see it more so in the book than anything else, that Danny's kind of a horn dog. So, who knows? And who knows? It was easier to explain Danny than it would be Dr. Kubert in regards to a lot of the evidence that was presented. So, and technically, I could have probably explained away Monique Dupree's little aspect of her being in the movies, but again, that would have been stretching. I don't want to stretch too much.
Yeah, you might pull something.
Right. Wait a minute. Was there a double entendre implied or not?
Oh, absolutely. Who are you talking to, sir? Who are you talking to?
Like I said, that's why I can't wait until October to meet with her. There's going to be a lot to unpack with her. A lot to unpack in a good way. Double entendre not implied. Double entendre not implied. So, a couple of extra things that I want to bring up. One quick thing is...
real quick. Keep talking. I gotta go. I need a drink or I'm gonna die.
No problem. One of the reports that we got in across while Big Candy's getting a drink is that there will be, it's right now rumors more than anything else, is the fact that at San Diego Comic-Con, which it will start, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of this week, that there will be a uncut version of Deadpool 2 screened there. There's going to be like a Deadpool 2 panel. The major rumor that is currently coming out is, well, they're going to be unscreening it, and it's going to be now, a lot of, sometimes you might see this on a smaller scale, or to use John Johnson as a reference, a filmmaker like him would sometimes go, when he's at a show like Horrorfind or a Monster Mania, if he's there as a vendor or so forth and so on, he might screen a movie there just to kind of see how the fan base reacts. Now, they could be doing this to to see how people react to the uncut version. It could be more or less maybe the possibility of just screening the bonus features at San Diego. So if they do, we'll find out more later this week. But also this week, I should say, as of today, when I was looking up things for the show, bringing it up is... Nope, that's Messenger. Wrong button. One of the things that I want to bring up, or at least start into, and he just as he returns... don't worry too much. As I was telling the listeners...
I heard.
Okay. I didn't know how much you heard, so... Oh,
yeah, you're just a
bastard. Oh, you had to come up. Fucking bitch. You fucking... No, I had the article pulled up to read, and all of a sudden, one of those... stupid shit comes up. Oh, you earned a dear Amazon user. You've won a free Amazon gift card. You bastard.
Boston.
That means I got to go back on follow the link. Basically, what it was the upcoming schedule, or the panel schedule for San Diego. I figured we could possibly talk about, or at least get a reaction of what you might think, or give our thoughts in regards to... Where did I see it? Oh, don't tell me it wasn't on Geek Tyrant. That would be sick. Or was it on Twitter? You know what? Screw it. Screw it. We'll talk about it when it actually drops. But in regards to Deadpool 2, I had more information about that. It was easier for me to talk about. And stupid fucking phone. God damn it, bastard. Damn spam, bullshit, scam artists. But one of the things that was brought up was Rick and Morty. The creators have started work on season 4. I guess they'll be doing quick promos over the next couple of weeks or months until we get a type of actual episode. Who knows? We might actually get a Christmas episode. You can understand that, like they kind of did. Or we might. The fans have been saying, "Oh, we're going to get a Christmas episode. This was last year, but this year we might actually get a Christmas episode due to the fact that the contracts have been signed and they're starting work on episodes now. So who knows? We might actually get that Christmas episode.
Yeah,
it could be a complete surprise, kind of like what they did with season 3. Speaking of which, season 3 is on Hulu for all of you who have missed it. And also stating that fact, Pickle Rick! So,
Pickle Rick!
And to kind of, because while I'm looking, trying to find the article real quick in reference to the schedule. What the hell is that? Forget it. How was your 4th of July? I should have brought up the start of the show, though.
Well, where we live, it actually poured down rain all day. We just sat inside and watched Independence Day movies, which, the first one and the sequel, which is pretty awesome.
Did you see the sequel before?
Yeah. I don't know why everybody hates on it. I like it. I'm hoping they make a third one. I wasn't hating on that. My wife's home, by the way. That's what I was hating on. You're not so sure about this. Me.
I was like, oh my god.
Oh god.
I did that with another movie.
You did that with another movie. Man. I liked it. I thought it was good. Plus, the third one would be in space, and I like space. But we watched that. That's all. And then like the third, they had fireworks in town, but we missed them because we forgot that they were happening. I kind of saw the end of them. That was about it. She worked.
Well, because because the
How was
rain
yours?
here was kind of, I wouldn't say light, but where we were, we had decent tree coverage, so we got a few drops from falling from the tree, but nothing that would have deter the fun. I won't say the fun. The events that we were enjoying where we were at. Pretty much, what happened was I like a day or two before. Lloyd's fiance messaged me and was like, you want a friend of theirs is having a cookout. She knows who you are, and she said you're more than welcome to come. And I mentioned, like, I'll think about it. 5 minutes later, she said you're coming. Yeah, you're showing up to this cookout. It was pretty much Michelle saying, no, you're coming. You're going to have a good time. So, in essence, I participated in a barbecue, had hamburgers, macaroni salad. I had some alcoholic beverages. Granted, Keystone Light is not my beer.
I thought you were drinking the Keystone.
Right. I'm more of a...
was that...
What?
Was that Pennsylvania beer?
I don't know about Keystone, but I'm more of a Yingling type person for the most part. That's where majority of my loyalty lies, even though I don't mind drinking Flying Dog. But as a wise person once said, when you're visiting when you're a guest at somebody's house, or you're a guest at your friend's house, your favorite beers are 1, free, 2, cold. Everything else...
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. That's good manners right there.
Right there, yeah. It's like when you're out visiting somebody, no matter what your favorite beer is, your whatever your number one favorite beer is gets shot down to number 3, and the first 2 are always 1 free, 2 cold. So it's like I can't really complain. It was. I know when I visit Lloyd, his usual brand is I think Milwaukee's Best. So,
nice.
So it's like I'm not going to complain because
there's nothing wrong with it. No, as the shitty beers go, Beast Ice is up there. It's in the top 5 of the better shitty beers.
Yeah.
In my list, it's going to go PBR, of course. Then you got probably Beast Ice. And then there's Schaefer's. And then what would you say after that? What would be 4 and 5?
Sam Adams would be number 4. When I tried that, it was very watered down beer.
Well, no. See, Sam Adams, here's the problem. Sam Adams is not a shitty beer. Sam Adams is one of those wannabe craft beers. Shitty beers, are the ones that only come in cans. They're always $2 and some change at the store for a 6-pack. And you usually see people drinking them on the rings.
How you get PBR or which has a 15-pack. It's always $5 or $6 for a 15-pack when everybody else is $10.
Yeah, Steel Reserve would be one of those. Those are like that. Oh, and Natural Light. Natural Light's another one. That'd probably be my top 5.
If Lloyd doesn't drink a Beast, he drinks Natties. So it's one of those two. So it's I can't complain. It's as someone who doesn't drink beer that often, I can't really complain too much. I'm all right, I'm having a beer. So it's free. It's
I always tell myself I'm going to have a couple of beers, and then I don't.
So I don't know why. The cookout that we were at, they were shooting off a few fireworks there, but as soon as I got home, because my stuff was at Lloyd's, my pack was at Lloyd's house, and got there, spent a few extra minutes there, and this was maybe about, by the time I left his place, it was 8:30. By the time I got home, it was 8:45, 9 o'clock. in around there. I put everything inside. Now, here's the thing about Martinsburg. They did their fireworks display. Where I live at, it's not close to where they do the display, but you could see it.
Oh.
Kind of. Because the fireworks explode over the tree line, and you could see the majority of them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they didn't start at 9 o'clock like they usually do. They started at 9:30.
Oh.
And they do a round, wait 5 minutes, do another round again, wait 5 minutes, do another round, make it look like a finale, and stop and you're like, oh, it's done. I'm going to go inside and maybe watch an episode or two of NCIS, and maybe, watch some Twilight Zone on Netflix. And as soon as I walk back down to where my house is, they start up again. I'm like, motherfucking cocksucker, It's like, continue that shit. And and the thing is, the people, that red brick house that you see when you normally drop me off, that was vacant for the past, I don't know, 6-8 months, now has somebody in it. And I'm used to leaning against that house. Even, I knew the original owners of that house. And if there was a light show or a air show going on, I could have leaned on that house all fucking day. The owner of that house the original owner knew my stepdad. So,
yeah.
Or I should say, still knows my stepdad. So, I could have leaned on that house all goddamn day. And that's what I was doing. I was leaning against the house, and they came home like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, I live behind you? Listen, I knew the owners of this house way longer than you have. I knew the original owners, man. And not to mention, his grandkids live like right fucking next door. They know who I am. So, it's not like the big deal, but when most of the neighborhood knows each other, and which is kind of a good thing, if everybody kind of knows each other and kind of gives a lookout for each other, that's always I won't say a great environment, but a lot of the negativity and the bad shit doesn't really happen. So, or it's kept to a fucking minimum.
Yeah.
And here's a bunch of people that are not really outside people, if you can understand that. Like, every time I go out, either to go do laundry, go shopping, go to work, whatever, occasionally I get to see the people that live in front of me, or I get to see my other neighbors. They're the only neighbors that moved in within the past 14 days I have not seen in any way, shape, or form. No matter what. I see my neighbor next to me and the people that visit him more than I've seen them. And my neighbors to my, that's right next to me, are growing a garden, and it's very tempting. We're talking like peppers, hot peppers, and tomatoes.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh man, dude. Yeah. When I see the owner, it's like, dude, you got to give me a couple, a tomato or two or something like that. You're making me hungry. I know those fuckers. The peppers that he's growing are like habaneros. They're like the round peppers. But the peppers, nonetheless, they're really hot peppers. I'm like, oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
So, if not, you gotta give me one. I got to give me one or two of the hot peppers. I know somebody who's going to really fucking love them, and they're just going to eat into them like a motherfucker. But the fun thing there is, when I saw them, at least that one neighbor and a couple of the people that help him out restoring the house that he's in, and I asked him, I was like, what are you doing about the bunny problem? Because for the first, I want to say, I've been in this house going on it's been over 8 years, and going on 9 years. And for the majority of the time I've been living here, I've seen probably the same groundhog, week in, week out. It's been recently, no groundhog but it's a bunny. And so therefore, I asked him, like, what have you been doing about the bunny problem? And the guy was like, there's nothing we can really do about it. We don't really want to kill him because he's really doing no harm. The only thing he's attacked is the lettuce that they've been trying to grow. But for the most part, he's been avoiding the tomatoes and the peppers. So I'm like, all right. And he's like, wait a minute. And that's when I looked up and I'm like, there's the bunny, little bastard right over there. And sure enough, he's like, really? He's out? I'm like, yep, there he is, eating on the grass. He looks over and he smiles like, oh, there's that little bastard. So he's like, for the most part, he's like, they ate lettuce, and it's like no big deal. It's like, it's just a home garden, like something you and I would do. They're not really doing it for money. It's for personal. I'm going to grow a garden. I'm going to grow some tomatoes. So other than that, it's just a big time mosquito problem, and it's going to be a spider problem because I get because my house is behind a lot of trees, and I got to walk between those trees to get to the road and all that. Get that kung fu aspect of things that you walk into the web and all of a sudden you're instantly knowing kung fu. You know what I'm talking about. You walk through a post and all of a sudden you got a cobweb in your face. It's either that or gnats, you know?
Yeah, always.
So.
Yeah, we got a really bad mosquito problem here. I get bit on the face tonight, and I hate it.
Oh, look who's talking. You're not the one living about 150 feet away from a stream.
Oh, that's true. How high has that thing got with all the rain?
As I've told people in the past, when I first moved here about 8 years ago, it was almost near. It was maybe about 4 inches below being overflowed. Now it's like, I should say, it's from the topmost lip of where the water was, or the difference between where the drop-off was and the water was maybe 4 inches. Not even. Now, at its lowest point, it's maybe 1.5 feet. When we got the major rain a couple weeks ago, it came up to right near the edge, and when we got that second bout of major rain, that's what put it over, and that's my video on my Facebook page, personal page, showing that. It was like that update video I posted up, showing kind of it overflowing. But the video prior to that was where it originally was at. So
crazy. Hey, so I don't know if you saw it, but did you want to mention anything about Steve Ditko?
Oh, I kind of had that down, but the thing is, for those out there who didn't realize, I was just thanking Geek World Order for giving us a shout out as usual. So, I think it was earlier. The news came yesterday that, at least the news was made publicly, that Steve Ditko, who helped create a lot of the Marvel Universe next to Stan Lee, passed away. And I think he helped create the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, and a whole mess of other fine characters. And he passed away. He was found deceased. He was dead in his home for like 2 days, I think one article said, before he was discovered.
Wow.
I don't remember seeing what the cause was. I guess we'll know it at some point, but he was like 60 some odd, 70 years old, something like that.
No, he was 90.
He was 90? Wow. Yeah, that's right. He was like 90 years old. Part of me wants to say I met him at like a Wizard World or something like that, back in when they were first starting out, or Baltimore. That, something. I got this feeling that I've met him at one point, but I didn't meet him. That's why I wanted to put up, like, our Godfather met him many years ago at Wizard World or Baltimore, one of the two. But I couldn't really lay that claim down because I don't remember. So I didn't want to put something. It wasn't like me saying, hey, I got, this memory. Like, let's say, God forbid, I don't want to see the man. He's old enough as it is. I don't want to jinx it, but it's not like a fun Stan Lee story that I might have, like the Incredible Hulk poster that I got signed. Him doing a charity event, and he signed a whole mess of posters for those who wanted it. So it's not something like that, and so it's one of those things. Like, I think I met him, but I don't know if I did, or there's that chance I might have something signed by him, but I don't remember. So. But he created a lot of great characters, and he opened the door for a lot of great things today that we take for granted. And the reason why I didn't want to cover it is because there are people out there trying to ruin the memory or ruin the stuff that he helped create already.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say. There are people out there covering. I'm not saying the people covering it are idiots, but they are covering the idiocy behind it. That is folks like Diversity in Comics, The Quarterling, amongst many others that are covering the stupidity behind this, and that the people that want to bash this man's legacy that he has brought to the enjoyment of, if not hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people over the 50 plus years of Marvel Comics in regards to that. So I don't want to be one of the people saying, look at this freaking idiot, or don't ruin this man's memory, and just trying to spoil things. I don't want to cover that. I don't want, that's just me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just thought it was worth mentioning about Dick.
He will be missed by many, and hopefully.
I think he was right up there with Kirby as one of the pioneers.
Yeah, I guess that's who I was initially talking about, or at least thinking about. I'm like, he's right up there with Kirby, and he helped create a lot of great characters. If it was one of those things that if Kirby didn't first put ink to paper, it was Ditko. It was one of those things. Yeah. And go ahead.
I was just that's all I was going to say about it. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
I part of me wants to dig into the hate behind it, and the other part doesn't, because I don't know too much of exactly what hate's going on out there. So
to avoid any of that, I was going to say, I don't know how you feel about it, but me and the wife were talking about the other day, like this new Disney Fox merger that's going to go through. I don't know where it is in the process of going through, but this is just conjecture. But prior to the releasing of the new Avengers movie, which will be next year, what are your feelings on if Disney acquires Fox in time? Do you think that there might be, or do you think it'll be in the pipeline for down the road, a relaunch of the X-Men titles?
I think I saw something, I don't know where it was, I think it was either Twitter or Facebook, one of the two, in regards to that people are thinking that Avengers 4 is going to be dropping hints in regards to the X-Men, and along in regards to that, they're going to be dropping major hints of regards to them coming in. And I've heard folks state that as of right now, the Fantastic Four is officially part, or at least either officially part of the MCU right now, or back at MCU, or in regards to rights-wise, back at Marvel. So, and Marvel's already thinking of I know for many of you out there, it's like, oh my god, they're rebooting Fantastic Four again. This time it's it's at Marvel. Marvel. Yeah. Marvel, not Fox. Therefore,
so, in other words, you're going to get a quality.
It's going to be good. I'm not saying the original Fox.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, I didn't hate the first two. I didn't really hate the third one, to be honest.
I didn't see the third one, but I've seen the first two. They weren't bad. They weren't bad. They needed improvement, but they weren't bad. They weren't Roger Corman bad. But
you never saw the newest one?
It was, from what I've seen, cheesy, and it would have been awesomely cheesy, but it wasn't that bad. But
you never saw the newest one? The newest?
No, I avoided it like the plague.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. It's not the Fantastic Four that you know and love. Let's put it that way. It's the Fantastic Four, but it doesn't have the character of the Fantastic Four. Does that make sense?
It's missing a large chunk of the soul of Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I did like a lot. I really liked the Doctor Doom character in it, because it was more like Doctor Doom. He was hateful and angry and very, very powerful. I did like him. Other than that, it wasn't a bad movie. To me, it was like actually a pretty good movie. Like as far as action movie goes, it was a decent movie, but it was definitely not. If you're looking for the Fantastic Four, that ain't it. Right. What I'm hoping they do is, I hope that if they have the rights to the Fantastic Four, I hope they have the rights to the expanded stuff, and they start doing something like with Franklin Richards and Galactus and all that stuff that's like a real big part of the Fantastic Four storyline.
And we might actually get a chance to see that, or it might be one of the things that they hint about from what I heard in the next Avengers movie. So
that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that like where one thing dies off, another thing comes on. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or like that's how they write these people into the story. Like, okay, the reality gem changed things so that like where these people didn't exist before, it's like they've always existed. You know what I mean? Like they write them into canon by using the reality gem. Would that be fair, or would that be like kind of like a cop out? What do you think?
A lot of fans might think it's a cop out, but a good number of fans would be able to say, okay, I could see that and I could understand it.
Like it would be kind of like what they did with the Sentry character. Remember Sentry?
Yeah, which was in essence. I remember when they first did that. It was like they build it off as, oh, this is not a hoax. Yet it was a joke. It started out for the folks out there in regards to nowadays. The Sentry is a part of the Marvel comic universe, not the cinematic universe. Back when it first came out, like 2000, what, 5 or something like that?
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 2004, 2005.
And it was kind of billed as almost a joke. A joke, but not a joke, and the folks that were running Marvel at the time were like, "Yeah, we have this secret character, but here," and it worked out beautifully. They didn't. I think it was just going to be something that was a throwaway thing, and the fans just latched onto it, and it became such a popular character and a popular thing that Joe Quesada and everybody else behind it had to take it actually seriously, because here was a character that called a Sentry that wasn't like was more or less along the lines of a Spider-Man or Daredevil, where he where Spider-Man got bit by a radioactive spider and gained his powers, and Daredevil got splashed by chemicals and got his powers, and so forth and so on. The Sentry, his alternate form, drank a chemical, whatever it was, and became the Sentry. Only to come to find out that his his nemesis was himself, meaning that if the Sentry saved 14 people, his nemesis would kill 14 people. And the thing is, the storyline said the reason why we forgot about him is that his alter ego, this evil part, not only did he have a Peter Parker or Bruce Banner type of secret identity, he had a third identity, which means he was the Sentry. Oh, the trouble's going down. I gotta switch to the Sentry. Drink this, this chemical or this concoction to be the Sentry. But the third person was himself as the Shadow, and the Shadow became, or Shadow-esque character became so bad that he went to, I think if I'm remembering the story right, he went to Reed Richards to create something that would make him and everybody else forget who he was.
Yeah.
That you could have...
yeah, they just forgot about him.
That you could have a Sentry poster up. It was so well written. It was like, well, there are these people that would have poster-sized spots on their wall, and in their brain it was like, nothing really would work in that spot. And the reason why they would forget is because they already would have something in that spot, and it was a Sentry poster. And once the Sentry, this character started remembering that he was the Sentry, everything started to come in, that he had this secret building, he had this base of operations, and everybody else started remembering that he was the Sentry. Therefore, that blank spot on the wall that was poster sized now had a Sentry poster on it.
Yeah, the illusion wore off.
Yeah, the illusion
wore
off.
And everybody was like, "Oh, of course, there's a guy named the Sentry," just like he had always been there.
Right.
Yeah. So, that could be a venue that they could possibly go down with, as far as introducing the Fantastic Four and characters of that nature to the Marvel universe. Because okay, New York City got attacked and they didn't help out. Come on,
right?
The mutants didn't help out. Come on.
Therefore, it'll be like the whole aspect of the 9/11 tribute comments, like, well, where were you, the superheroes, where were you when these attacks were happening, and sort of type of thing. But who knows? It'll be interesting to see how they incorporate the mutants and the Fantastic Four, even though I've heard rumors in regards to how they're going to kind of sort of work the Daredevil, the Punisher, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage into everything. But I don't know how because they kind of kept everything, the TV shows kind of sort of separate from the movies.
Well, it would be smart on their part to do that, because where they failed with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they could actually pick the ball up and roll, with it with the Netflix shows, which is honestly what the DC universe should do with Flash and Legends, but they won't do it, and Arrow, but they won't do it. No, as far as I don't know. I see them doing a lot with the properties. I see them doing new stuff. I also heard rumors that the publishing aspect that they're buying, that Disney already owns of Marvel, they don't like it, and they they think it's a loser. They think they're losing money with it, and I think that a lot of this results from that whole Comicsgate stuff and all the stuff that's been going down over the past couple of years. And
to clarify, because I've been kind of following diversity in comics and yet kind of not following it, the whole Comicsgate is in regards to diversity in comics and what he pretty much putting his book out there and all that.
Well, not even that. His take on it was that there was people basically put in charge at Marvel that didn't deserve to be there. People that, like, their main objective was not making good comics. It was making social commentary through comics and doing it at a really ham-fisted kind of way that, like, comics weren't comics anymore as much as they were just like an opportunity for like marginal artists and writers to virtue signal via their craft. So that and a lot of people agreed with him. They got tired of seeing some of the newer characters that Marvel was introducing and the destruction of the old characters in the face of the new characters, basically, and the new characters not living up to the legacies of the ones that they had replaced. So, we weren't getting the Hulk anymore. We were getting like Amadeus Cho or whatever his name is, Hulk Light, in these stories that just weren't interesting. And we were getting Squirrel Girl, and we were getting just all this weird stuff that honestly, at the end of the day, the people who are writing or who are reading comics or have been reading comics for a long time just weren't enjoying, and the readership had gone down, and Marvel was in the basement, and they still are. And what kills me, and we had talked about on the show before, is they've got all these hot properties going on right now. They've got all this stuff going on in Hollywood, and where they should be capitalizing on a lot of that stuff, they're not. They're instead, they have the girl being Iron Man and Tony Stark not in the picture, and they have Loki or Thor and Loki as women for whatever reason, rather than capitalizing on actually having Thor be a man, and they have somebody who's not the Hulk as the Hulk, and they got Captain America as getting killed off, and it's just a whole lot of weird stuff.
Not to mention the artists and writers on these books attacking the fans and attacking...
Yeah, well, that's what it all started with. Basically the fans backlashing against people listen, we don't like these stories that you're writing, and they were write something else, and the artists, instead of saying, what they should have said is, listen, this is my vision. If it doesn't play out, there's always somebody else going to come behind me and write something else. Instead, they were screw you. If you don't like my books, go read something else. And it's
and the thing is, when to kind of fill folks in, is that a lot of these creators turn to the person behind, not just even Van Striver, I butchered his name, and got folks behind, guy behind Diversity in Comics. They pretty much told those two guys, yeah, put your money where your mouth. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you do. And both those folks did an independent campaign for their own books, and hit it out of the park. And
where most books are making they're selling a certain amount of copies, and it's only making tops $30,000. These guys raised independently. Virtua Indiegogo raised $361,000 for their book,
if not more.
It was
I don't think that's exactly. Indiegogo has ended yet.
Because I'm looking at it right now. $361,005. They literally are 3,867% funded as of May the 10th. So this book is one of the hottest books out right now in terms of stuff that, in terms of like what the fans actually want. But what you got on the other hand is you have the comic book mafia, as they are called, who don't like this, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to disparage people, because they're the ones who he doesn't like. So they think that he's a racist. They think he's a sexist. They think he's homophobic. All because he doesn't like these books and the concepts that they're trying to push.
Right.
And what he was doing like live reviews of the books, and he wasn't saying anything in the reviews that wasn't being said in the book. And some of the ideas that they were pushing were really out there, and he was just making light of it, and they didn't like it at all.
Yeah, and
they got mad.
There was like one shop that came out, and a guy, it was a YouTuber that came out and was like, listen, I got footage of being banned for life from one shop that kind of sides with the audience. And sure enough, it was like a shop that was not just, come in, buy comics, like what Four Color Fantasy does. We just got a brand new shipment of comics, and come on down and buy some comics. We got past issues, so forth. Yeah, I'm using Four Color Fantasy as a reference, but that's what they do. Like, they want you as a customer to buy their stuff that they're selling in the store. No matter who you are, they want you in to buy the store, buy the stuff in the store. But the one shop that they went to, the person went into not only pick up his weekly stuff that he has on hold, his weekly pull or his monthly pull, he went into pre-order Jawbreakers, and they pretty much said, as soon as he said, I want to pre-order Jawbreakers, they banned him for life for doing that, for saying that, because of how... Yeah,
they said that they no longer wanted his business.
Right.
Yeah.
And it come to find out a month or two, this was maybe about a few weeks ago, come to find out that shop is no longer in business. They closed down. Yeah. They don't have any more business. They can't sell anything out, because I guess word got out, why should we go there? They're going to, if I put in an order for this particular, not just Jawbreakers, but if I put in an order for an independent comic that might be in previews, they're going to kick me out. So,
well, it was bad for it's a bad look for, even if you're for any kind of business owner. It goes right back to the guy's not baking a cake for the gay wedding thing. Like, honestly, like, ever which way you side with that, denying customers is not good for your business. Right. Basically, either you're a capitalist through and through, or you're not. And if they want to stick to their beliefs, and they don't want to sell a book by someone who they accuse of being a racist, and a lot of people think that he's not, and they're going to ban people that way, well, that's not a good way to do business. And yeah, you'll go out of business. That's what happens. You lose money.
The fact that I think
this whole, what the whole point I was getting to with all of this, with Comicsgate and the publishing end of Marvel being under with Disney, I've heard that they're not happy, and that they're thinking about two things. They're thinking about either dismantling the publishing arm, or they're going to raise prices until basically they price the customers out, and then they're going to just go ahead and get rid of it all together, which would mean the end of Marvel Comics as we know it. So I don't know how true those rumors are.
If not me saying it on a solo episode, or both of us together saying that I think this was, again, a couple of months ago when everything was kind of going down, that if, like you said, if Disney decides, they one of three things are going to happen. They're going to clean house and restock, and like, okay, we can't have what's going on now. Well, yes, we got to have diversity, but not this way. It's alienating fans, it's alienating X, Y, and Z, or we could have people come back, but we have to have policies in play that will benefit the fans in a way.
Right.
Two, they're going to do as you said. They're going to, either say, you know what, Marvel, DC won. We're going to keep making movies, but comic-wise, no. We're done. We're done. We're sick and tired of y'all shit. And not in those words, but that's what in essence is going to happen, because we're not making money off of your end of things. We're making money off of the movies, not the books, because of what you're doing. Now, I didn't want to bring it up, but because we're talking on this end, what happened recently, to kind of commend, I won't say commend, but to kind of bring out the point of what we're trying to say, is that the creators of Guild Wars 2, there were two developers who worked for the same company that were putting together Guild Wars 2. They came out to kind of say, this is what we're doing about, putting together this game, so forth and so on. And a Guild Wars streamer, from what I saw, said, in my opinion, this is what I changed. It's good, but in my opinion, this is what I change, and this is, X, Y, and Z. And that particular developer insulted this Twitch streamer and said, this, in essence, made the comment in regards to, this is what happens when somebody mansplains. And there was another developer for it that kind of backed her up, and the folks who make, or I should say put out, Guild Wars, and will be putting out Guild Wars 2, pretty much said, guess what, you're fired, bye-bye. You're
bye-bye.
You're done, bye-bye. And they issued the comment to the public saying, that's not how we as a company feel. We are a fan-oriented company. We want to hear input, despite, in essence, in a way they were saying, despite our beliefs here, we want to hear input from our fans in reference to how to make our product better. We don't want to insult our fans. And
absolutely.
That's why we kind of fired these two people.
Let's go back all the way to Business Ethics 101. Why are you in business to begin with? Are you in business to push an agenda, or are you in business to make money? I'm gonna say I'm willing to bet most people are in business to make money. They've got a product or a service that people love and support, and they want to further that by selling more of the product that people love and support. So I don't understand. This is what I didn't understand about Marvel was, why were the head honchos at Marvel letting these people dictate how the Marvel Universe and how comic books were being portrayed for so long while the numbers just plummeted? How were they justifying this? And letting the artists and the creators go on social media and berate fans. If it was my company, if I was the head of Marvel at the time, and I saw anyone in my employ going on Twitter or going on Facebook and calling people dumb, ignorant racists, they'd be fired so fast you wouldn't even see the smoke trail. They'd be out the door. I'd have my foot up their ass, and I'd have somebody else doing their job. I don't care who they were. I don't care if they'd been with the company for 30 years. I wouldn't let anybody talk to the people who is the life support of the business, which is the fans, the people who are buying the shit. I wouldn't let any talent talk to them like that at all.
The thing is, I keep forgetting what her channel's called, but she's the one I get some of the information, some of the movie news and the movie numbers, and what she kind of explained in regards to when the news was dropping about Kathleen Kennedy. I'm not going to go into any Star Wars news. I'm just using it as a reference point. That one of the things she said, her name, the person that runs the channel, her name is Grace. She said the older fans in regards to Star Wars, they see the movie 15, 20 times. Yes, she's exaggerating. They buy the merch, they go to the shows, they buy the toys, the music, the comics, the whole merch yard, 9 yards, and they see the movie 15 times. The people that Star Wars, in essence, you could pretty much adjust it to Marvel Comics as well, that whereas a moviegoer would see something like Star Wars 15 times, our generation, our within you, I know you're younger than I am, but where we would see a movie 10, 15 times per se, the people nowadays that they're addressing to it in reference to Marvel Comics, Star Wars, and so forth and so on, they're gearing it to the person that's only going to see it once. That's it.
Right.
Then those people that are only going to see it once are not going to buy the comics. They're not going to buy the toys. They're not going to buy the lunch boxes. They're not going to buy, the Star Wars, the T-shirt. They're not going to buy Star Wars, the comic book. Yes, I'm trying to do a Spaceballs thing, but they're not going to.
Star Wars the breakfast cereal. Star Wars the flamethrower.
But that's not what they're saying. Where our generation is like, Star Wars the flamethrower, I gotta pick up 3. Where what she was saying is like, where we would buy.
You're saying that it's an antiquated business model, and I understand.
No,
that.
It's not an antiquated business model. The business model that they're trying to adjust to is not a good business model, because what they should be trying to do is get people to buy 2 aspects of that toy, that action figure, one to keep on the shelf and one to open up and play with, and to get the merch, to buy the merch as well, to get the fans fully immersed in. Oh, you put out an Avengers the movie. You want them to buy the comic. You want them to buy the toys. You want them to buy the soundtrack. You want them to buy, to be fully immersed into the surrounding universe that is that movie. A lot of the fans aren't doing that, and yet they should. One part of the reason is, if they watch Thor, they're expecting a Chris Hemsworth type person playing Thor, not a woman. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, if you're putting out X, Y should mimic X in regards to it. It's back when
if it's a woman in the movies, then it should be a woman in the comics. If it's a woman in the comics, vice versa. You can't have one and have the other. People have literally said to me that they're confused. That they literally said, I went and saw Avengers, and I took my son to get some comic books, and I couldn't figure out who the Avengers were.
Right.
Because there was a book with people they didn't recognize on it.
Right.
So, they need to streamline their efforts. They need to have everything in sync. They need to have it if what happens on screen needs to be happening in the books, or they need to have, if the storylines are separate, you need to be able, I don't know if you remember this, but you used to be able to pick up at any point in a story and get caught up.
Right, within 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah,
you can literally pick up at issue 180, and it was it could be the middle of the story. You could pick up 2 issues prior, and you could go on from there.
Yeah, and you're all caught up. No harm, no foul. Now, I have no idea about some of the stories. It's like they're completely out of left field. And they expect you to know all this stuff and say, So,
right. And the thing is, here's the thing. Back for the folks at home listening, a lot of you don't realize
for the folks playing the home game.
Yeah, for those playing the home game, way back when the original Spider-Man movies. I'm talking the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies came out.
Oh, yeah.
At that particular time in the Spider-Man Ultimate Universe, yes, there was a Spider-Man Ultimate Universe at that time. They switched from, I believe, I could be wrong, I know they switched out Peter Parker to Miles Morales, I think it was.
Miles Morales.
I was close.
Yeah.
But they switched back to Peter Parker because they were afraid if the fans that went to see Spider-Man went out and picked up Spider-Man the comic books and saw Miles in it instead of Peter, they'd get confused and not buy the comics. So they brought Peter Parker back. Nowadays, it's, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, it's especially confusing when you do something with a property like Avengers that's like, I would dare say that most people understand who Spider-Man is and what his origin is and who his villains are. Like, even if you're not into comic books, you get who Spider-Man is. But like, say like a book like Avengers or a really hard sell like Guardians of the Galaxy. Holy shit. Like, that has to be on point with like what they're doing in the books and on the movies because, those characters, like, nobody knew them before, but now they've become actually cherished characters. Everybody loves Groot and Rocket. Come on, man. But like, Groot and Rocket aren't even in the book anymore.
Right.
So like, it's confusing to people who are trying to come in on it. Basically, they're shutting out a potential fan base by not streamlining or allowing themselves to streamline. I mean, there should almost be like an entry level kit. You know what I mean? That they could offer up to fans who are coming from the movies to the comics if they want to save that. I mean, they might not even want to save it at this point. They might not even care. But like you said, if they're saying that they want to sell everything as a package to make the most amount of money possible, you're going to want to onboard people as quickly and efficiently as you can. You're going to want to get people in the door and be like, okay, here's all the stuff you need to know about X, Y, and Z. Like, read this, go with this, and you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Something to get people like quickly acclimated to like what they're looking at and what they're reading and why it's different. You know what I mean? But they're not doing that.
Right.
At all. They're leaving people to fucking figure it out on their own, and people have a short attention span these days, like of about 2 fucking seconds of trying to put up with shit like that, and then they don't care. They're like, fucking, I'll just watch the movies. I could give a shit about the fucking books.
Right, and
so that's why the book numbers have been declining for like the last 2-3 years. Diversity in comics for a while, and I don't know if he's done it recently. Like every month, he would go on and read the numbers, and for comic books, they were embarrassingly low, like lower than you would expect. Like scary low. Like I don't know how Marvel makes any money. Let's put it that way. Like, and yet you have him making $361,000 on a virtually independent book. Like that's unheard of.
That, to me, that is something that when it comes to Matt's October 4th State show, if he has any artists there, I won't bring up Ethan's name. I won't bring diversity into it, but I could bring it up without actually causing too much.
Well, you can say where do you weigh in on the Comicsgate issue?
Not so much the Comicsgate is like if they've done a lot of independent stuff, where they're with the success of a lot of independent creators now making over $300,000 through Indiegogo. How do you weigh in on that versus being a part of a major brand like Dark Horse or Marvel or DC.
I mean, honestly, honestly, it might behoove the industry for mainstream comics to die out, because, like, okay, well, what if, like, creators can get funded, you know, outside of the normal realm of books, and like you see here with diversity in comics, because if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see some other comic books that have been funded through the same way. There's something called Red Rooster Golden Age. That's $64,000, 433% funded. You know, there's a number of them right here that people have done on their own and are being funded. So I don't know. Like, okay, Iron Sights. I think that's another diversity in comics title.
And I think again, it's one of the things that I've said in the past when, you know, we brought this topic up before, either, again, myself or together as host, co-host. It's that if, let's say, Disney says, you know what, we're killing Marvel. Marvel's going away the dodo. We're killing it. Let's say that happens. They go under. That means you have Valiant coming up. You know, you're going to see more attention brought to Valiant and Dark Horse because they were kind of the underdogs, and DC's going to become a little bit more of the mainstay because they were the direct competition against Marvel. But all in all, if people get fed up with Valiant, because they're surprisingly, when people said Valiant's making a comeback, I was like, yeah, right. But if people get fed up with Valiant and DC, Image, and Dark Horse, they're gonna the people that are going to win that. You're going to have the hobbyists looking someplace else and someplace new. And the people that are going to win the most are the independent creators. Because they're going to have the original stuff, they're going to have the unique stuff, and you're going to get to see the stuff that's going to be for everybody. Meaning, where you saw a lot of the kiddie stuff, where a lot of people saw and still kind of see DC and Marvel as the kiddie books, you're going to see a lot of things coming out for adults. I'm not talking rated X type stuff. I'm talking rated R type of things. The harder, more meteor stuff like more Walking Dead-esque type things, or Why the Last Man, or a Transmet, or a Sandman. Again, you're going to see those things come to the forefront than they were in the past. If you can understand. Still there?
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts in regards to that? The more of an adult-esque or more meaty comic coming out instead of the kiddie aspect of Marvel.
Well, no, that's what I was trying to say. Like, I just think I think people, like, the people that are reading the books in the first place are people like you and me. Like, I don't think there's any kids reading that much anymore. There are kids reading comic books, but it's not like it was. It's not much of a kid medium anymore. It's like baseball cards. Baseball cards, like, it stopped being a kid medium in the mid-90s because they got priced out. Like, you know, kids nowadays can't afford to buy baseball cards. I mean, the ones that do, like, you know, their parents got money, and like they're pretty much just open them, like, you know, for profit like everybody else. Comic books are pretty much the same way. There's no money in them, like, you know, other than if you're getting the special covers and, like, you know, the hot comics and selling them for, you know, a maximum price, like, at, you know, almost as soon as you're buying them. But there's very little people, like, reading them, you know, and as far as, like, you know, I'd say the 14 and under crowd, you're gonna want you're going to want to, kowtow to people that are 18 and up. You're going to talk to people that are I'd say 15. 15 and up are the ones that are probably still actually reading superhero books and trying to get into more indie stuff, and the horror titles and the more edgier stuff, the drama stuff, and those stories. I don't think Marvel would make a mistake if they tried to market towards kids nowadays, because kids don't want to read that stuff. If my child is an indicator of what kids are into, they're into video games. If you really want to push the characters, put out more video games. Put out online content. Put out sandbox titles Fortnite that kids could play maybe individual characters and have superhero fights or something like that. If they had a Fortnite that put superheroes against superheroes, it'd be over. I'm telling you right now. If they had
the aspect of the individual comic book, i.e., gotta buy that 181 or that one issue 800 or that issue of X, Y, and Z. Yes, there's going to be a market for that shit, especially after the Batman marries Catwoman aspect of things. But
yeah.
I think the bulk of everything is going to go towards the graphic novel, i.e. for the folks out there playing at home. You have individual issues that are about 20 to 25 pages that fans like to collect, but I want to say the bulk, the average reader of comics doesn't mind getting the graphic novel, which is where if something is a 6-issue run or an 8-issue run, they're just going to put it in a book, thicker format for, instead of you paying $25, $30-$40, they're going to put it in a book and sell it to you for $25. Yeah. So, and that might be the way to go, and especially if they do what you say, Big Candy, is hey, let's make a GTA, I'm just using it as an example, a Fortnite type game or a GTA type style game, meaning the open world aspect of a game. There could be a little thing buy the Essential Daredevil graphic novel or the Essential Fantastic Four graphic novel at your local bookstore or comic book shop. That sort of thing. That way, instead of spending $10, $15 or $100 a week for 5 comics, yes, I'm grossly over exaggerating, they could buy one book for $20 and still get kind of caught up.
Well, you could get these kids into the characters by simply doing something like a Fortnite. So what are some of the main aspects of Fortnite?
And get them reading comics.
Well, listen. What is one of the main aspects of Fortnite? Is that you buy outfits and emotes and weaponry, right? So you could get a basic character when you start, right? And you'd spend your V-Bucks or whatever the currency would be, and you could buy Thor. But then you could buy Jane Foster Thor. Well, what's the story behind her? I don't know. Add a little blurb on the thing, Jane Foster Thor, blah 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 blah. Or you could buy classic Thor. What's the story behind him? You could buy Beta Ray Bill. Right? All of them would be upgrades to the same character with different hammers and different weaponry, but guess what? You're getting a backstory too. Eventually that kid may or may not be hey, listen, this Thor character is pretty cool. Maybe I should go buy some of the comic books and kind of read about what he does. You know what I'm saying? They would take ownership in leveling up the characters, therefore take ownership in maybe reading about their history, because kids are like that. My son, when he gets into something, he gets into it and he wants to have it. He wants to know every aspect of it backwards and forwards, to the point he gets into the lore. like of a story. You know what I mean? And then he does want to buy stuff like little plushy dolls and action figures, and like right now he's very into the Incredibles, and he's never even seen the Incredibles, but whoever's marketing the Incredibles to kids right now is doing a hell of a good job.
Right. And the thing is, I'm not knocking the person at all. Knocking the person at all. You have folks like Comic Storian that kind of cater to folks like us, where he does a clip note. It's not an animated comic, but he kind of cliff notes the runs a little bit. Yeah. He's not going to read the entire comic, but he's going to give you the high points of each so you know what's going on. He reads it, in essence, it's a Cliff Notes version of that particular comic. And it's kind of how I got to know the final storyline of Deadpool up to like issue 300. And it was a way for me to catch up with the story and know what's going on without actually going out and spending $20 on comics. And it's one way.
I don't know. It's so hard to market to kids nowadays because they're not interested in the conventional stuff. They're not playing with toys. Like, kids are on their cell phones. Like, so whatever you market to them, it has to be like instantaneous, and you can't, and don't rely on it being there for like a long time. Their interests are fleeting. So like, you know, stuff like an app, like something on, like, if Marvel was smart, they would do like hero masks on Snapchat or Instagram for like a week. Like when Avengers come out, like, I don't know, they should have had something on Instagram where you could change your face to like Thanos or like to the Hulk or something, and like, you know, take pictures of yourself acting like the Hulk. You know, that's the kind of stuff that's going to bring fans in, that's going to have them interacting at all age levels, rather than trying to market traditional stuff like toys and posters and stuff like that. Like, yeah, people are going to buy that stuff, but they're going to buy it in limited quantities because people just aren't into that stuff anymore. Money's tight all over, and, you know, people aren't trying to like spend like $10 on like a poster, or like, you know, $20 on an action figure when they could like be getting something on their phone that's going to keep them entertained or something. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Especially when that's what you kind of see now. I think we had this conversation way back in the Electric Eye days in a way in regards to toys, where you have a bunch of toys out that you have like 5 different variants for a particular action figure that barely moves in to begin with. That most kids like Caleb don't care about the toy because it's not going to hold their attention past past opening it up. Where when we were kids, the toys had like 15 points of articulation, or at least you could move the arms up and down. They had a couple weapons, and they had kung fu grip and all that fun jazz, and you were able to play with them. Now it's like, I want to say at least kids like Caleb are smarter. Why do I want to pick up a action figure that I can't really play with when I have this Nintendo Switch or this 3DS or my tablet, and actually do more with that than this toy?
Well, literally, he makes his own storylines up. He can go on a game like Roblox. I don't know how familiar you are with what Roblox is or what it does, but I mean, it's almost like a sandbox in and of its own. Like, your character is basically you. You create it, you give it a name, and it walks around in this world playing little games. Or like, one is where he like makes a pizza shop, and he has to run the pizza shop, and like he has to make the pizzas and deliver them to people's houses and serve people at the counter and stuff. I mean, it's all right there. He doesn't have to have those toys. Now, they do make Roblox toys, but they're for collectors.
Right.
Like, but, you know, but the thing is, he doesn't have to have those toys. He can play with the tablet. You know, it's like what happened with the Star Wars stuff, and I know we talked about this before, but like the sharp decline in toy sales for entertainment media, like as far as movies and summer blockbusters, it's been in the toilet for a while, and it's definitely going in the toilet with movies like Last Jedi, because you didn't see any of that merch leave the shelf. Nobody was buying it. No one wanted it. The movie was bad, and then the toy line was terrible too. Like,
and the thing is,
they've gotten
people
really...
the collectors don't want to spend the $30-$40 on 3 toys because of a bad movie. Like, why do I want these crappy looking toys? Why do I want to spend $30 for top of the line stuff for crap or stuff that's based on a crappy movie?
And they love to insult the fans, because here's what they do. They bring out another Star Wars movie, and guess what they do? They parade out yet another version of the Millennium Falcon, and they want to charge $300 for it. But guys, you know what? You've already had like 15 Millennium Falcons come out. Okay? They've been coming out since 1977. Like, honestly, stop. You know? It's like, how many versions of this toy are you going to have? Like, everybody has one. Stop. Like, if you made a quality freaking movie, maybe have some of the newer vehicles come out. Have them be premium. Have them be like, have metal toys, metal models. Like, have like those lightsabers, like you see what people make on YouTube, that are actually like almost functioning lightsabers and stuff. Like, come out with something different. Like, they just, every time a damn new Star Wars movie comes out, they just shovel out the same old shit. It's like, oh, here's a new line of plastic fucking swords. Same shit that's been coming out for fucking years. It's like, everybody already has one, but here's some more. And what do you see? You go to the store, fucking 500 plastic swords in the fucking clearance aisle for $5 a piece, because guess what? Nobody wants them.
Right.
It's like, guys, like, knock it the fuck off. Like, think of something new. Think of something different. Market yourselves differently. Like, we got it. We understand. Like, we get it.
And take me for example. Granted, the fans, if they're true fans, I'm not saying everybody has to be like this. A fan that's been with the fandom for a while. Let me say it like that. That particular fan's tastes are going to change. This is, I'm not disagreeing with you, Big Candy. I'm agreeing with you. They're not going to buy that lightsaber for the umpteenth time. Why?
Exactly.
Their tastes have changed. They want something better. Meaning, went back 18 years ago, after I built up my collection, and I was still kind of building it, my tastes changed. I was going, instead of going for, yes, I do still buy the occasional comic when I have the funds for it, but my tastes went from buying comics to getting original sketches, and also getting original artwork, getting, I think it's at Dynamic Forces stuff, posters, and that sort of thing. That lithographs and limited stuff at shows, that the prints that the artists put out for shows. That's where my tastes have gone to. Not because these things are technically cheaper. Trust me, page art ain't fucking cheap. But my tastes have changed over the years as a fan, as a collector. A long-time Star Wars or Star Trek fan, their tastes may have changed. And putting out the same old bullshit is not going to sell. You have to change. You have to see where, yes, it's going to appeal to the new fans, but when the new fans are not like the old fans, you have to kind of find a way to make the money back somehow.
Well, yeah, and the buying habits, it's the buying habits that have really changed too. Like, okay, you know that back in the day, if you wanted Star Wars action figures, you had to go to Walmart or Target or like a retail store. Like, I remember seeing them in like Dart Drug and places like that when they used to be around here, or Hex, or places like that. Because, there wasn't a Toys R Us around here for a long time. Well, now there's no Toys R Us at all. And so where are people buying their stuff? Well, guess what? There's a thing called Amazon.
Right.
And you don't have to go to the store and buy action figures. Guess what? You can buy an entire case online. Like if you were going to spend the money anyway, why not just get the damn case? But you can literally go on Amazon and put, take Matchbox for example. You can go on Amazon, you can go new case of, I think there's 52 pieces. Matchbox cars. You can literally buy a 52 piece case of Matchbox cars for right around $68. Right. Why go to the store and thumb through these things and see where they've bent the cards up trying to shove them on the shelf out of the package, and stuff, where somebody's been fingering them trying to find the rare ones. You get a brand new case all to your own. Right. The same thing.
You see the same thing with Magic the Gathering. I have 2 or 3 shops, at least one shop that I know of offhand, that when there's a new set coming out, time to pre-order. This set's coming out. Time to pre-order. Do you want a box? Do you want packs? Do you want a box? Do you want a case? This is the price for, we're taking pre-orders. Do you want a box or do you want a case? Here's the price for the box. Here's the price for the case. If you want, we could ship out. Just give it, if you send us, it might be a little bit extra for ship it out. Whereas, let's say, a box of Magic the Gathering cards, a booster box, is $60. $65 you get a box shipped to your house. PayPal. Oh, you want a case?
Yeah.
As soon as we get the case in, maybe I'm overdoing it. $270 shipped to your house. So maybe $300. Yeah. We got to make some money somehow.
But that's the buying habits of your consumers now.
Right.
You can do it yourself. You can just get whatever you need on your own. You don't have to search stuff. Back in the day, you remember what it was like. You had to track down the things that you wanted because you didn't have the internet. And that's what these retailers.
You had to roll the dice and visit a flea market.
Oh yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like the retailers nowadays, they're operating on this antiquated model that people need to come to their stores to buy stuff, and they just don't. If you really want to waste gas and run around town all day, you can. You can go to different places and be disappointed because they're not going to have what you want anyway. Or you can take 5 minutes, go online, order what you want, and it'll be your house 2 days.
Right.
That's honestly the way things are going, and they need to realize that, because that's where they're losing a lot of fandom too, is because they expect people to go to the store. They expect people to they don't understand that people want instant gratification for stuff. They don't understand that I don't want to go to Walmart to look for toys or for whatever. I want to shop for it online. That's most people nowadays. And that's the way it's going to go continuously until the end of time. Eventually, I'm telling you right now, the department store as we know it is going to be gone in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's why you see a whole mess of stores like Macy's, Bon-Ton.
Yeah.
The storefronts are going out of business.
They're gone.
They're shifting the majority of their business to the internet retail. Because it's cheaper.
And I say, well, I like going and trying on clothes. You don't have to do that anymore. Literally, you can order stuff, and if it's the wrong size, you can ship it back, and they'll ship you the right stuff. Right. It's not even a painful process. They even give you all the stuff to ship it back with. Honestly, it's so much easier just to order clothes online and buy stuff online because you have to stand there with a bunch of stinky people you don't want to be around. But besides the point, what all this is doing, and what I'm saying is, they need to figure out how to market this culture properly. It's almost like they don't know who their target audience is. If you're trying to market to kids, you're not going to get their attention with toys and puzzles and and stuff like that. You're going to get their attention with video games, Instagram apps, like things that they can like do on Instagram, apps on their phone, like versions of games that are officially licensed, like take an old game and put your branded stuff over top of it, like Lego Star Wars or Lego Marvel, stuff like that. That's what kids pay attention to nowadays. They're not paying attention to all this other horse shit. Like, that's not what they want. Now, and the adults is a completely different story. The adults that want the stuff, like we just said, they have access to the computers and they can get it anywhere, anyhow. It's up to the people supplying it to add incentives. In other words, like, don't put 24 pieces in a case anymore. Put like 12, and if you order a certain amount or something, or if you order like this, you get a rare one. You know what I'm saying? Put 30 pieces in the collection. Make people buy 3 cases, and they get like a special mail-in character or something like that. Or they get you know what I'm saying? Like, add incentives for buying more stuff. That's how you're going to sell things, because people love rare. People love being able to have something other people don't. Like, look at the subscription boxes. Subscription boxes, like, they went through the roof in the last 5 years because it's exclusive merchandise that nobody else has. So, like, you're getting cool items that, like, you can't buy in a store. Well, that's what people want. So, like, okay, let's just say Marvel Infinity War, or Avengers Infinity War Part 2. It's supposed to come out next year. You know what Marvel could do from now until the movie comes out, and even after if they wanted to? Marvel Avengers Infinity War 2 subscription box. It's a 12-month subscription, $30 a month. Each month is a different character. Would you buy that if you had the money?
Yeah. And
because guess what? And it could be different stuff. It could be like this month could be Captain America. You get like a Captain America mug. You get a Captain America shirt. You get a Captain America iPhone cover, ice cube tray. Something weird. Like next month, Black Panther shirt, Black Panther coffee tumbler. Like 5 items. You know what I'm saying? And each month would be a different character themed all the way up until the movie comes out. Oh my God, people would throw money at you for shit like that.
And the thing is,
that's the guy, Mark.
Again, I'm going to use him as an example. Someone like a Boogie 2988 doing an unboxing, like, hey, Boogie, here's a box for free. You do an unboxing, he gets like, he has like, what, 1 million plus subscribers, and people are going to go batshit. Use something like a Boogie 2988. or Markiplier or whomever to do a comics historian. You do something like that, they unbox it, they show everybody, people, and they're going to get even more people buying it because, hey, this particular YouTuber unboxed it, therefore, guess what? They're going to get probably more people going to see the movie or ordering the box. One of the two.
For sure. Even if the movie sucks, guess what? If you do a subscription box or something like that, something that's exclusive like that, man, you've already sold like merchandise for the movie for 12 months before it even came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the smart way to do business. Like, they need to start thinking outside the box with this shit. They need to, well, inside the box, to be honest, but they need to start thinking about how to market to people like you and me more effectively. Like, ways that, like, the traditional ways just don't work anymore. They're going to have to figure out something, or else they are going to go the way of the dodo. And the public, like, that's when the publishing, like, division of Marvel does go down the shitter. And that's when, like, there stops being comic books come out. And because Disney ain't going to fuck around. Disney took possession of these properties because they saw potential to make money. Like, they're buying Fox. That means Disney is going to have The Simpsons. Do you think for a fucking second that The Simpsons aren't going to be a major role at Disney World and Disneyland from here on out? Like, Matt Groening just got paid. Let's put it that way. Like, they're going to have Simpsons Land, and I can't wait to go. I'm serious. Like, they're going to have Simpsons Land somewhere, and I can't wait to friggin' go. Because it's going to be friggin' amazing. Even though that show is how old now? It's been out since, like, you and I were, like, kids. Like, 1989 or something crazy?
Something like that. They've been around, like, 30 years? Close to it?
And people are still watching it and know exactly what it is.
Right.
Like, Bart Simpson is iconic. Do you think that Disney is not going to be selling like 1 million Bart Simpson shirts from now on? Are you kidding me? They're going to make so much freaking money, like, just because it's a Disney brand. I mean, that's the insane thing. Like, they really need to capitalize on stuff like that.
And Disney knows how to capitalize. It's just that it's kind of compare. I know it's a piss poor comparison. They have to find the math in reference to how to get the younger generation money from them instead of the money from the older generation like you and I, where it's easier for them to go, oh, we have this exclusive, oh, shut up and take my money. And where the younger generation doesn't have that attitude. They have to figure out that math in regards to it. And just like I have to figure out the math in getting more listeners, there is a equation to it, and it's just a matter of figuring shit out.
Yeah. It's like, is it something that's like easy, or do you need to literally like put like $100 bills hanging out of your zipper, to get people to to come to you? You know what I mean? And I don't understand it either, because like getting yourself out there in the world, like, you gotta understand, it's not just you. There's like 500 other people doing exactly what you do, either better or worse, but they're still doing exactly what you do. How do you single yourself out and stand above those people? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just like I was explaining to Crystal one night, like when LeBron James was deciding before he went to the Lakers, when he wanted to decide what team he wanted to go to, he went to his decision cave, which was some like resort villa somewhere tropical. I can't even remember where, but he was paying $75,000 a night to stay at this place, and I think he stayed there for 2 weeks. I could be wrong, but you understand what kind of money that is, right? That's more than you and I make in like 2 years,
right?
Every night. So like I was explaining to her, like, your listeners are out there, that money is out there too, and people are dying to spend it. You just got to figure out how to get them to spend it on you. You know, that's the game. So, like, your listeners are out there, and they want to spend that money on you, and they want to come to you, but they haven't heard you yet. You just got to get them to figure out how to get them to come to you and listen to you, and not the other guy.
Right.
Or listen to the other guy and you at the same time.
Right. And a lot of people have stated, or at least a lot of reports have stated, that more and more people are listening to podcasts, they're watching YouTube, and they're moving towards us, and they're moving towards YouTube and that sort of thing. And again, it's one of those things that you have to get out there and pretty much find a way of going, me, choose me, come here, me, come here, me. And
you pretty much have to go, listen to me, I'm not going to waste your time.
Right.
I'm going to entertain you for 2 or 3 hours, And
it's not that easy. There is math to it, but it's just a matter of figuring shit out.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I think you got a kick out of the idea of me putting up that little sign saying we're the most hated podcast in our area. It honestly, it did bring people in and made people look, and it made a few people stop and ask. And that's the kind of thing that,
yeah.
So, I think we pretty much beat this dead horse to death a little bit. Do you want to call it for the night?
Yeah.
So
we turned it in. We turned it into glue.
see that nice green patch over there? Yeah, yeah, that's where we beat the horse to death. So we're gonna call it there. I don't think you do. You have anything else?
No.
Okay, neither do I. Again, happy 3rd anniversary to us. We hope you enjoy this this episode. Stay tuned for me again to give you the standardized ending show stuff. So, and that being said, we are out. Well, everyone, that's our show for this week. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you wish to join in the conversation, you can do so, as always, by sending us an email to longcoatmafia@gmail.com, or you can leave us a message on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Longcoat Mafia Podcast, or you can always tweet to us or send us a DM, either on Twitter or Instagram, and that being, our handles on both Twitter and Instagram are Longcoat Mafia. Don't forget to, while you're there, to click either like or follow, and it'll help us dearly. And if you wish to, even though we are happy that you're listening to this podcast, if we would like you to subscribe one way or another, in one of the many ways you can do so. If you're listening to this through a direct link, you could easily bookmark our page, and if you notice, our website is thelongcoatmafia.podbean.com, and if you're on the go, you could always listen to our episodes there on the website, or if you're at home, you could always download the episodes to your computer and listen to your those episodes on your MP3 player of choice. If you are listening to it on your computer, you can do it that way. You can listen to us through streaming through the website, or you can do so by using iTunes and subscribing to us through iTunes, or you can listen to us through Stitcher Radio or Spotify. But if you enjoy listening to shows like this on the go, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and maybe soon Google Play Podcasts, because of what we've been hearing through the usual podcast trades, as well as Stitcher Radio app, the Spotify app, as well as the Podbean app. And with a lot of funkiness with some of the apps, the Podbean app seems to be a little bit more stable, especially with Google Play Music and iTunes kind of being iffy. And personally, I recommend the Podbean app, is not only because we are with Podbean, but with the Podbean app, like the website, you could go listen to our webisodes. Our episodes going all the way back to the beginning. So you could see how far we've came in those 3 years. So again, I am more than happy that a lot of you have stuck with us for the past 3 years. So if you've been listening for that long, please let us know. We'd love to give you a personal shout out on the show at some point. So again, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. We have, as we stated in this week's show, a lot of great stuff coming your way. So stay tuned. There's a lot of things we got to hammer out and ask permission for. So who knows what's going to happen down the pike. So thank you, all of you. Thank you for listening. And for those of you who have been following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Podbean, no matter what, and YouTube, again, the link is in the description of this show. Thank you so much. We're going to ride this to see how far we can get it. We ain't going nowhere yet, so thank you for listening, and please stay tuned next week and continue sticking with us. So, see you guys, and we are out of here.
See you next time on the Long Coat Mafia.